Hey, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday live stream. This week, we've got John Willis, of course, from Special Operations Equipment. We got Toolman Tim Cook from the workshop, and I'm Nicole Sauce from Living Free in Tennessee. And when I reached out to Tim, I was like, hey, man, what do you want to talk about? And he said, building your empire. So I added, while the other one crumbles, because it seems like we're going through that economic shift right now, but Toolman Tim's not letting that slow him down. So Toolman Tim, let's start out with what were you thinking when you threw that topic out?
It's been so much on the go. When we were heading south to you guys last time, I met up with John for a podcast and then spent 4 days with you, Nicole. On that drive, of course, you do some of the hi, Beth and Emily. You do some of the absolute best thinking. And that's where Becky got her idea that it was time to franchise the daycare, which, for those who don't know, we turned a handyman business into a daycare business, and now we're kind of spreading that out. And then the content came out of it. And also we turned it into some rental properties recently. So we bought our first 2 units with 3 total rentals in it. And we've realized that it doesn't matter what's going on, doesn't matter, who tries to knock you down. You just keep building. And for us, it's quite funny because after I talked to you, Nicole, we got a message from the city. I sent you a picture there, John, maybe a month, 6 weeks ago of the property. So we put a conditional offer on the property, and the city just turned it down last night because the outdoor play area is less than 50 meters from a vent on another building. So we're like, all right, so where do we go from here? Nothing serious. We're going to find a new building. And we decided instead of paying for a 5-year lease up front, we're going to buy the fucking building. So we're going to find our own building. We're going to buy it. And there's some more available. It's not like this is this doesn't tear it down and throw everything to pieces. It's, well, hey, there's a little problem. Let's pivot and make it work.
Does that mean they won't assist in funding, or they just won't permit it for it at all?
So this is the city. This is what they gave us. They give us the little line from and could we fight this? Sure, we could fight this. We could turn it into a long, drawn-out battle. But what I would like is a turnkey kind of business where I can go in 2 weeks, some flooring, some painting. I don't want this to drag out into a 6-month, 9-month kind of process where, back and forth, $400 here. Okay, appeal this, appeal that. So we just said, no, we're just going to find another building in the city, one that isn't. So where we picked, it was in one of those stupid, you might be able to have a daycare there as long as the powers that be, our favorite government tells us we're good. So we're just going to find another place 1 block over that will allow us the zoning or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, it kind of seems like as you grow, it's inevitable that stuff gets in your way.
Oh, yes. And with a daycare, the government has their hand in everything. And, I don't agree with that. I don't mind people looking after kids. You know what I mean? Like if there's one thing where somebody's like, let's take a look and say, we're just trying to make things the best for kids. But my God, the government has their hand in everything and you need approval for everything. And so every time you turn around, it's a new, your fence needs to be this tall, or so you have to kind of play by their game if you want to make the money. And we've learned how to do it.
Well, and that's good. Do you get many people telling you can't, like throwing monkey poop at you from the gallery?
Sometimes, yeah. One of my favorite was earlier this. Okay, let's go on Becky's side first. So there's people who are close to her. Like I grew up in a household that their can't wasn't really a thing. Mom was always go, 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 go. You can do whatever you want. Be a lawyer, be a doctor, doesn't matter. Not so much on the other half of my family side, Becky's side. She gets that a lot. Every time, as soon as we came back we came back from Tennessee all riled up and we're like, hey, we're going to open up a second location. And, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of travel. It's a bit of a risk. And we just completely ignore it now.
Who's putting that out there?
Those words?
Yes.
Family.
Got it. Yeah. I don't have there's a wall. Like I don't have any of that shit anymore. I wish I did, because I'd have something to, be rage video about, but I don't have it. They're not near me.
It's tough. I can only do so much on my part because that's up to how Becky handles it. But she does well. It's taken her a lot of years to handle, and it doesn't mean they're shitty people. They're just the poverty mindset they've embraced. And
yours, always me.
Oh well, you only need to know. But and I'd say, I don't. Anyway, I stood on stage at Self-Reliance last year, and I told everybody that by December 31st, 2023, I'd be making enough money from YouTube or from content in general to live off of if we had to. That was my goal. And I'm probably going to be $300 short of that goal this month. So I'm, 4 months ahead of schedule on it?
Right on.
But you get that shit. So there was a while back on TikTok, I turned him into a coupon code for my patch club. And the guy's like, not with your content. And then there was another kind of prepper guy on TikTok that was like, dude, with the stuff you put out, you're never going to make money on that. And I'm like, fucking watch me, dude. I said, you got 250,000 followers on TikTok, and I guarantee you that I'm making more money than you are right now. So whatever.
TikTok's not paying him.
No, I'm just going to go back and I'll be like, hey, here you go, dude. I just let him be, but you get it once in a while, and it's fun to kind of make an example of them every so often.
It's a trip that some of the biggest prepper social media channels live in apartments or in major cities. You're like, you're not doing anything that you talk about. It's
frustrating, and I'm sure you can absolutely make a lot of money off TikTok if you do it the right way, but it is, the path to monetization is a little more like this than YouTube is. At least YouTube, you hit a certain level, you get monetization for ads, and YouTube ads are still my lowest income source out of all of them, but it's still significantly better than most people make on TikTok for sure.
So we're invited into the creator space or whatever for TikTok. And basically what that means is there's this list of companies, none of which you've ever heard of, that will pay you for videos. Some of the videos are $1,000, some are $200, but you don't have a clue who these companies are. You really have to research them. TikTok does pay like some click-through revenue. We know a guy that has 1 million on TikTok, and his first check was $800, and his next check the next month was $200. That's with 1 million followers. Huge engagement. And they've since just banned his channel. They locked his channel down.
I make more than that or close to that in just YouTube revenue with 8,800 subscribers.
Yeah, of course.
So I use TikTok. I've embraced it. I'm really embracing it now because I just hired somebody to outsource somebody to do all my shorts for me. So it's going to be one every morning for the next while, and we'll probably ramp it up from there. But for me, it's a means to an end. It's to draw people into the community. It puts eyeballs on me. And I've gone up and down on the shorts with YouTube because at first, when they first brought them out, it would screw your metrics up like crazy. And so now they've really kind of separated it, and it makes it really easy to kind of demarcate which one is which, but it also helps keep, it doesn't affect the way your channel flows. That's the big thing I found is I would put shorts up, they would hit big, but then everything else would just sort of go boom. Yeah. And they've kind of fixed that. From my reading, they've kind of separated the shorts and the long form content algorithms, and it's working really well now.
Yeah, just use the shorts to bring people into live feeds is kind of what we do. We have a lot of people show up on the live feed, and then they've kind of misconstrued or misunderstood a lot of the shorts. We make them in a manner so that people do interact with them impulsively, and then they can watch the videos and the lives and go, oh, this guy's thinks the same things I think. And then there's a call to action, right? We can convert him into something else where he joins the text or email app, or becomes a member on our YouTube or joins Patreon. And then we have a lot more communication with him, and we have direct access to him if we are somehow circumvented through one of the other avenues at some point as we get banned.
Exactly. Hey, L2 survive. Oh, he's awesome. We spent some time at the Thrivalist Fair in Washington. We sat down and did an interview, and there you go. That's exactly it. And another good feller, Evan Dixon.
Yeah. All the good fellers are here. Well, I know a lot of people wonder, how long did it take you to realize what you needed to do to start adding subscribers on YouTube and to building that sort of social reach?
You want me to go, John, or you want to go? Or who was that for?
That was for you, Tim.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I've been doing this for, let's call it 3.5 years. So I would say just about 3.5 years. Now, I wouldn't, everything's a journey in content creation, and you start, everybody starts somewhere, and at first I was, let's throw everything I had at the wall, see what sticks. I'll do more of that. I'll do none of what doesn't work. But in the last probably 6 months, I use a program called TubeBuddy, and I've just been digesting like crazy anything to do with YouTube analytics. And I delete, or I guess not deleted, but kind of privated a whole bunch of videos on my channel to clean it up, to give it a unified brand. I've worked really, really, really hard on making thumbnails. They're kind of clickbaity, but not in a bad sense. If you want to bring eyeballs to your channel, you have to have top quality thumbnails and top quality topics or titles. And so what that does, there's a few things that TubeBuddy's been working that's helped me. But one is developing thumbnails. But the big one is finding a niche title. So say like today I'm working on a Streamlight. Actually, no, let's take the one I did last night. So last night I just replaced my 12-volt socket in my truck with a USB-C outlet, which is great. It's an awesome. It was a pain in the ass to do. So if I just went on and said USB-C upgrade to RAM, that might end up in the ether. There might be 1,000 videos out there that have a way bigger channel reach than mine. So what I do is I type that in, and then it starts searching. And so what it found for me was my car doesn't have a USB-C outlet. That's the title I'm going to start with, something like that. And what that does is it puts me in the projected range of, it shows the first page of search results. I typically get X amount of views, and it'll put me well up on there. And it'll also show me search volume versus competition, the whole works. Anyway, so I would say the last 3 to 4 months, I've done a real deep dive, and I've gone from like 100 to 200 new subscribers to, I'm probably going to hit 600 this month, and they're going. It's a crawl for everybody. You have to learn. It's incremental improvements, but I would say about 3 months ago, I really changed a corner, and yeah, I've found a lot.
So we use vidIQ. Sounds like it's a program just like that. Shows you what hashtags and everything to use. The beauty of that is it puts a taskbar on your browser also, so you can see what everybody on YouTube's doing. So when you guys are like, I got 1 million, views and $500 off of this thing, it shows you the real deal, like on everything across the board, which is nice. On that video you did, I would have said, I would have ended with how to install USB-C without lighting your car on fire. The thumbnail would have been the car on fire, and then the text would have been, oh no, my car's on fire, because they want to see you fail. That's what's always going to, get those.
And that, so it'll pick that little niche, and then you take it from there to search engine optimization. And then it says, add some adjectives. So another thing I've done recently, there's a really good YouTube channel called Film Booth, and he talks about power words. So you find your niche that you watch, or so for me, it's backup power, preparedness, things like that. He says, go through all the channels in that niche that you really like and look at the words they use. So for me, it's solar, it's DIY, it's simple, inexpensive. I made a list of about 40 of them. And now I make sure I use one of those power words in every single title I put up there. And then, so you put a power word, you make sure that phrase is like that, and then you add a descriptor that makes it grab somebody's attention. And it seems to be working. I've definitely seen an upward trend on the initial amount of views for sure.
That's awesome.
I could get in the weeds. It gets pretty technical. I try not to go all over the place, but I geek out on this stuff because I go to bed, I watch videos on that stuff. I wake up, I'm testing things. They've got an A/B thumbnail tester right now. So what I can do if I have an underperforming video, I can put, thanks, David. I can put 2 different thumbnails in there, and TubeBuddy will swap them every 48 hours for 2 weeks, tell me which one works best, and then I leave it. I've taken 3 videos that were like this for the last 6 months that are now 45-degree growth.
Yeah, you can also take down your non-performers and reload them, put them back up. Just change the name on them or whatever, but you can unpublish them and then republish them.
And it works because a lot of times you've got great friggin' content that for whatever reason you didn't package it properly, and so it doesn't appeal to the right person. And if you take some minute, kind of shine it up, make it appeal to the right people, all of a sudden people want to see it because you know it's good shit. You just didn't do your job making it look appealing enough to other people.
Or YouTube just didn't push it out they just didn't push it.
Sure, absolutely.
And then on your shorts are great for drawing people over, but there's no call to action, right? So if you put a URL in your short, your viewer can't see it. So It's important too to go back in and put a link to whatever you want as the comment, and then put that in the comments so that they can see what you wanted them to see, because they can't see anything past like the first couple words on a short.
Is that in the comments on TikTok?
No, on YouTube.
On YouTube, sure. Yes, yep. YouTube's good because TikTok, I think they've stopped allowing you to pin a comment, which is a pain in the ass. I wish they allowed that because I pin a comment on every single video I put out there. I make sure I link to another video. Something else I've started is the Film Booth guy talks about creating a circle of watch time in your channel. So when I get to the end of a video, I'm like, hey, I'm talking about a Harbor Freight flashlight right now. If you want to keep digging into Harbor Freight gear, check out this video right here, foldable solar panel from Harbor Freight. And I've also moved my call to subscribe to the end because the guy talks about it and he's like, you're just going to piss people off. And if somebody does subscribe before they watch your video, they might not even like your content. So he says at the end, I say something now along the lines of, if you're here to the end of the video, it means I made the video for you. So hit the subscribe button, stick around, you'll get more shit like that. And have your end cards, right? And your end cards, you can have it go straight into a playlist also, like the Harbor Freight thing. Here's another video I happen to have done on Harbor Freight stuff. And then Linktree also, right? For where you can't put up that text that you want them to see, you can mention it really briefly in the video. Or if you're loading up 3 videos a day, every couple of days, have one of them be like, hey guys, all that stuff I'm talking about that you never can find in the context of the text, just hit the look at the URL up there. That goes to our Linktree, and I'll always have those in there. That's good.
That's a great idea. Okay, so building your empire. How's that going beyond YouTube? Like, are you going to get the daycare open? Are you going to start building something in Tennessee? What are your next immediate steps?
Yeah, so I had planned 2 months to Tennessee. I've decided to shift it around a little. I'm coming for a month. I'm speaking at 3 events over 4-ish weeks, but I get 10 days of uninterrupted time to work on the property. So I'm excited about that. I came to the realization that if I came down for 2 months, it wasn't the best use of my time. So what I'm doing is, I'm going to do a month in September and a month in March, and I'm going to try to coincide it with another festival that happens in March, so Self-Reliance, of course. But
another Self-Reliance festival.
Yeah. So I figured I'd split it up, do it that way. The daycare is going to happen. We've got all the paperwork in line. It's just a matter of finding the right building. We've got 3 rentals, like I said, that I worked my ass off to get one renovated. We'll be at 100% capacity again this month. I've also been in the process of selling my handyman business, the mow and snow portion of it, and I'm going to spin off what I have just into property management because I can handle the property management. It makes me money, and there's way less time involved to make the same amount of money. So we're going to, if this goes through, it seems like it's going to. We've been working with these guys for a while. It's going to pay off our house as well. So I'm going to take the business, pay off our house. That's really the only big debt we have. So we're doing absolutely everything we can to stack the money and get further along.
How long have you been in the rental business?
Personally, owning rentals, 6 months. I've looked after rentals for other people for 5 years, but 6 months for me since we bought our first rental.
And
go ahead.
So what's been your experience getting into that? into that line of work? Just, are you liking it? Are you running into challenges? What does that look like? Because you've gone from 0 to 3 pretty quickly.
Yes. So the one that I spent an entire, month basically renovating, the people moved in and they were 2 weeks late with their rent on the very first. And I took your advice, and it was a bank issue. And this month it's been fine. But I told them, I'm like, this is the one and only chance. This is how it goes. You don't get any extra rope from me, because I'm not going to be your friend. I'm your landlord. I'll help you out with any problems you have, but you need to understand that this is not going to continue, because I can rent it to anyone else, and everything's been good since. I learned that from you, Nicole. I remember you tell some horror stories about.
But yeah, you cannot be nice.
No, you can't. It's simple as that. Some people say, "Oh, well, you're just an asshole." No, I'm not. I'm just being honest, because here's the deal. We have property taxes, we have utilities that we have to pay at a place like that. And if you don't pay it, then it comes out of our pocket. So, yeah, I'm not going to let that happen.
Yeah, and then if it doesn't come out of your pocket and you don't make the payments, they're out of the house anyway.
Exactly.
Because that's the next thing that happens. And so did you buy all 3 at once, or did you buy one and leverage it into the other 2?
So it was actually pretty cool. And this is
one.
It was a package deal that we bought. Yeah. And this is all about leveraging your relationships as well, because these were 2 properties, 3 rentals altogether. So one's an upstairs, downstairs rental, one's a mobile home. And I'd looked after them for a few years. It was an older couple out of province who really wanted to get out of the deal. Or, they just were tired of paying to keep it up and everything. So they offered it to us for about $50,000 a year and a half ago. We hemmed and we hawed, and just wasn't worth it to us. So eventually, a year later, they came back, and they were even more kind of desperate to get out of it. And they said, "Hey, how does $25,000 sound?" And we said, "Sure. Yeah, no problem." So we had most of the money, but we decided, I said, "Here's the deal. You keep the properties. We'll pay it to you over 6 months." And they were fine with that. And after a month, we came back with $20,000 in hand and said, "We'll give you 20 instead of 25. And it was sold just like that. I'm not saying that's going to happen for everybody, but I had Joel Riles on the other night, and he says, you make your own luck. And you absolutely do. If you put yourself in the position, you talk to people. I talked to another guy the other day. He said some of the best deals he ever made were on insulting offers he made to other people. He said, you make 10 insulting offers and one, you're all set. So we made it work, and we got it for a really cheap price, and they're good. It's not like they're slum, they're nice places.
And that's good, because then you have cash flow from that. So We always talk about sort of that ongoing residual income. It doesn't mean you don't do work on rentals. Like we're doing work on my rental this week, but it's just not all the time, every single day, right? Like I have a tenant moving out at the end of this month. And so August, actually. So we're already planning like what happens during that 2-week period of time, because it's got to get clean. I'm sure it has to be repainted. You inspect it in advance so you know what's going on, and then we want somebody in there as fast as possible. That's the game. So you end up with those intensive periods of time, and then you make your money sort of on a drip over time, unless you use a property management company.
Right. And I love being somebody else's property manager too. I mean, I do that for 26 units here in town, and it's great because it's a flat rate every month, but it's good for them too, because they're both out of province. So they don't have to worry about it. I keep them at 100% capacity, and we make money.
Are you on call 24 hours for that property management company?
I am, yes. So it happens sometimes, not too often, but I have a really cool guy who's actually a tenant in another property that I look after. So when I come down here now, I leave him the phone. He takes care of things. It's incredible. He actually, when we were at your place, Nicole, he called me a couple times. He got a place rented for me. I set up the meeting. He took care of everything else. I've never had that before. So it really frees us up to live our life for sure. And I pay him well, I do, but I pay him when I only hire him when I'm going to be out of town. But anytime I'm going to be out of town, either him or his wife takes the phone, and we're all set.
Yeah. And that's nice, because half the time like you're either doing the work yourself or you're figuring out how to get the work done as a property manager. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the one unblocking the toilet every time or whatever the work is. But I find like the things that challenge me the most timeline wise are HVAC issues.
Oh,
If your AC is going to break or your heat's going to break, it's always the hottest or the coldest day of the year, depending on which one you need not to have happen, right? So then, of course, that's when all the HVAC guys are out. So, you know, that's always a fun part.
So to me, one of the best things I've done is to keep in the good graces of the HVAC guys here in town, you know, so
it's all about the HVAC guys.
You know, you keep them, you know, I work with the company as soon as, you know, they bill me at the end of the month. And as soon as I get that bill, I go right in and I pay it. And I talk to them. We go back and forth. I treat them as good as I possibly can so that if I ever do need, you know, for instance, I got a call. I had called my HVAC guys one day and I said, we're not getting any airflow through our heat vents, but it was for cold air. This was something I'd never run into. This was at my house. And he talked me through it over the phone. He goes, you're froze up. And I said, but it's not froze on the outside. So I learned something new. There's an entire radiator grill style thing inside your air chamber up there that I thought it all came from the outside. Anyway, didn't matter. That entire thing was a block of ice. So they said, turn your heat on for half an hour. It's going to suck, but when you're done, you're perfect. I never had a problem again. And they did that over the phone, never charged me anything because you have relationships. That's what gets me over the hump sometimes.
We always tip our guys really well. They don't expect a tip, but I always, if the bill's $400, I give them $500.
Nice.
You know, if we're having lunch, we always invite them in to have lunch. We always have some kind of conversation with them because we want to know those guys. And having access to those dudes also, we always they walk out of here with T-shirts and belts. Same thing with the power company, gas company. They're all wearing all of our stuff. So if we ever need those guys, I have a direct access to somebody 24 hours a day because we've, you know, built some kind of relationship with them. And a lot of times you then can circumvent the company when you have something that happens after hours. You can get somebody that will actually show up.
That's happened at my place with gas before.
Yeah.
You know, you know a guy, you have conversations with people. I've saved a ton of money on a bunch of different things because the guys are like, this is the way it works. This is how we get it to work. You talk. And it's not a disingenuous thing either because at least I know I personally appreciate those people. I like to learn from them. I ask questions and they're smart guys that you like to pick their brain. So why not treat them good? Because if you don't treat them good, somebody else will, and they'll remember it.
We tell them all the time, man. Like when we see them out, just even not on our job site, we just go out and I'm like, man, thank you for what you do. We can't do what we do without you guys all the time, especially like our UPS drivers. When we see other drivers, we even stop. We're like, our UPS people are awesome. And we have a 5-minute conversation with them. You never know when that person's going to show up on your route or something. And it gets back to your people too. And I mean, you have to mean it, but I do legitimately mean our UPS people are awesome. So are our utility people too.
We, I mean, every year at Christmas, those guys, I make sure we treat them really good. And I always stop and talk. They all know us by the name. Most of them stop because I got the yappy chihuahuas and they like to film videos and send them to their kids because most of them are from like the Sudan or something, you know, really cool people. But so they'll send them back and be like, look at the dogs trying to attack me. But we have a great conversation every day, you know, and if they got a heavy box, I help them unload it because I'm usually around here working, you know, and that's what you do. That's just called being a human being.
Yeah.
It's like you said, yappy chihuahua, and my dogs had to go off.
So in the last couple of months, we've totally renovated this studio space down here.
Yeah.
Do you remember that bright green that I had before? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gone. The entire thing is painted black. I insulated all the walls. The ceiling is soundproof. I put a bar in right here for my bourbon. I have a workstation right there for all of my patches, my silver, my battery packs, all my merch. So I've kind of streamlined everything, and it's made a huge difference for not needing to hear the yappy chihuahuas when we're live.
Do you have different spaces where you can just turn the camera and have a different whole background?
I haven't done that yet. I'm thinking about it. I like it. The kids bought me a really nice on-air neon sign, and I've got my vinyl turntable right here, so it gives it a better look. So I'm going to figure out a wide angle camera, and I'm going to incorporate that too.
Cool.
Yeah, Cameron says, unless tenants don't change the air filters, the HVAC guys are hard to deal with. We always offer food, water, etc. Every once in a while, you get a pretty cool person. One of the things I learned from hiring a property management company was that we charge the tenant every month for an air filter and auto ship it to them. So they pay their rent, they pay $20 for the air filter, and then when that arrives, it's like, well, like, okay, so if they don't put it in after that, what can you do except for inspect it once a month? But at that point, they've paid for it, they have skin in the game, and they can switch the filter out. That was one of the best things I learned from, because I used somebody to rent my apartment in Nashville, so I don't have to drive an hour, 20 minutes every time it needs to be showed.
What percentage what's the industry standard for that, Nicole?
She's charging 50% of the first month's rent.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Which is, I mean, it's not insignificant, but I don't have to pay a monthly thing. If I want to use them for property management, then there's a monthly fee if I was going to have them do all of the repairs.
Okay. So she doesn't do ongoing?
She will. I didn't want it because I have some weird, it's because I prefer to do the repairs myself right now. I've had some bad experiences with outsourcing repairs. So it will take a while to get my trust.
I get it. And legit, like for me, I charge $100 per unit per month.
Yeah.
And that works out really, really well. And if there's any major repairs or that sort of thing that I can handle, then I charge a flat, like an hourly rate on top of that. But, that includes but what they get is move in, move out inspections, cleanups if it needs it. And just the always on call, and it works really good for us. I kind of settled on that number. A little more around here gets a little hard, and a little less, it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I met a lady one day. I was up in the city about an hour away. When I also gave up my bank properties recently because I wasn't making enough money from the hassle that they give you. So I went into this it was like a condo place, and it was bad. There was a sign that said, Canada Post will no longer deliver here because of the constant destruction of the mailboxes. Like, we're talking ghetto, right? This lady deals with shit. And I said, well, if you don't mind me asking, you've got 30 units here. How much do you make? She goes, about $10 per unit per month. And I said, you need to quit right now, or you need to put your prices up immensely because you are putting up with way too much shit for what you make. She goes, well, I said, just telling you, you don't need, if you're dealing with this shit, you need to be paid for it.
When they raise their prices, they'll have better clients.
100%. I mean, the one that I took over was a meth den, and they had smashed out all the windows. So we had chipboard nailed up all over this. You went in. Yeah. Oh my God, it was so bad. But that's the type of, clients that they attracted there. I said, put your prices up. You'll make more money, and you'll have the right type of people there.
Yeah, people with way more money, they typically have jobs, and they're not smashing up your post office boxes.
Right. It cracked. When I saw that sign, I said, I know where I am now.
Yeah, when I worked with the property manager last time, it took us 2 months to find the right tenant.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it was because the majority of our applicants were not passing the screening. And I was like, what do I do? She's like, you raise your price on rent to get the applicants who will pass the screening.
That's actually brilliant. And
which was interesting. And, and we thought we were at market, but she said, I would rather you take 4 months to get the right tenant than to get one destructive one. And I totally agree with that sentiment, because that really, it can put you back. I was just talking to somebody who has had their first destructive tenant ever after years and years of being a landlord. And he said they moved out on New Year's Eve and turned the heat off on the way out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the power was still on. They just turned the heat off, which froze every pipe in the entire place.
Or put concrete
and didn't tell them they were leaving. Like, so he's like, he didn't know till 2 weeks later, sort of thing.
So I get a call. I was when I was coming back from down south. We're probably 8 hours out of town. I get a message from a tenant. They're like, my lights aren't working. And I'm like, did you pop a breaker? He went, no. I said, did you pay your bill? Like, do I need to ask you this? And he's like, so I said, when you moved in 4 months ago, you signed a paper. I give you the information that it's your responsibility to hook up the utilities in your name.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So apparently the guy who had moved out just never got around to disconnecting it for a while. And
wow.
4 months. Yeah, I don't know how you forget that. But anyway, 4 months. And he just came home and he's like, well, what can you do? I said, what do you expect me to do about it?
Yeah.
So I give him permission to run an extension cord into the hall for 2 days to keep his fridge on. And he got them there. But you knew damn well that he knew. He's like, I'm just going to ride this until I have to finally pay for utilities, right? And so that's the kind of shit you deal with. Or last night at 9:00, I get a phone call and it said, my freezer's not working. I'm like, oh, okay. How long is it? Well, I noticed it yesterday afternoon. So at like 3:00 in the afternoon, the day before, and they messaged me at 9:00 at night the next day. And it turned out they just pushed all their food to the back and blocked the vent in the freezer.
Yeah.
But, like, anyway, I'm not going to, that's my job. I'm not bitching about doing it.
It's just, the things that happen are pretty incredible. And I had a tenant once, I mean, this is probably my last horror story, who, it's Saturday. I'm at Cirque du Soleil with a group of people in Nashville, and she's like, my hot water heater isn't working. And I'm like, okay, great. When did this start? 3 days ago. So like, they've been taking cold showers for 3 days, and they wait till Saturday, the most expensive day, to hire anybody to fix it. And I turned to my friends. I'm like, you mind stopping by my duplex on the way home? I'm going to look at it. Pilot light had gone out. That was it. I went in and I lit the pilot light. And I'm like, okay, you'll have hot water again soon. And 5 minutes later, she says, why isn't the water hot? Well, because it's a 55-gallon freaking tank and it needs 15 minutes to heat up. It's like, that's how little people know. But she thought I was a hero that day because I got her hot water again. And I'm like, why did you do without hot water for 3 days? And why couldn't you let me know? It's like when your animals get hurt, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to go to the vet and it's Friday and you're even questioning, do I take this animal to the vet? You go to the vet on Friday because it's $400 on Saturday.
It's guaranteed. If you don't go Saturday morning, you're going to wake up to a worse animal. Every time we've put it off, that's what's happening.
Yeah. So anyway, but the thing about rentals is I grew up with my dad doing rentals. And so this stuff doesn't make me emotionally upset.
Right.
If you get emotionally upset about shit going wrong, you are not of the right mental capacity to do rentals because it's going to go wrong. People are going to do stupid things that cost you money. People are going to like do destructive things on purpose when they get mad at you because humans can be jerks. And if you're not able to just calmly be like, okay, what's the next thing we can do? It just turns into a big, I'm mad all the time for people. So I've seen people with rentals just completely flame out because they're pissed off that stuff breaks.
The Tim Cook of 10 years ago couldn't have rented properties. Even maybe 5 years ago, I couldn't have because I was too much of a pushover. And that's a big problem too, because I always give way too much grace. And, for me to say what I said to the new tenants and what I tell everybody now, for years, the hard phone calls were always Becky's domain. She would deal with the collections and that's me now. That I do it and I just do it completely dispassionately and it doesn't bother me a bit. But for whatever reason, it took me a long time to get to that place. And if you're out there and you're like, I'm a bit of a pushover too, you can learn not to be a pushover. You don't have to stay there. It might be a little uncomfortable for a little while, but you can absolutely, and it doesn't mean you got to be a dick, even though I am sometimes. You can find a happy medium that keeps your personality and you can be business minded too.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a road flare in there when they don't pay. Like this renting properties is not for me. We almost bought one right up the road for $30,000. And every time I drive past there, I'm like, we should have bought that. I was literally feeding chickens yesterday morning thinking we should buy a rental property. And then I think, no, I should not buy a rental property, especially around here.
You don't want to go to jail, John.
My idea of property is having enough property that nobody can see your property. Like the last thing I need to do is deal with local folks.
And that is like, so I have a property here that I have never rented to local folks because I'm concerned about renting to local folks. So it's always, like we have great tenants right now, but I don't want to go down that road right now.
Yeah. Well, you're in a unique situation where people will come to you, just like my guys that work here. They're not from this town. They both moved here from California and they both work here. We've had guys from New York, Arizona, 2 guys from Alaska. So they have a vested interest. They don't have deep roots here where they can just, not go to work, not pay their bills and go back to mom's house. It's very different. And somebody that's going to pack up and move, I think that's your situation, Nicole. Most of the people that live out there, they're not from near there. They came because of you.
Yeah. None of them are from near here.
Yeah. And that's what you guys have both created, is that kind of, intentionally or not. I think Nicole's intentionally, and John's just like, I don't really want you here, but if you're going to show up and you're going to work your ass off, I'll take you, and you got that magnetic attraction, whether you try to or not, John, but you both do it, right?
I don't want to know your name for 90 days. We make it 90 days and then we're good. If you can put up with me pushing you away for 90 days, you have staying power, then I'm going to invest time in you.
It's like that damn dog.
At least you have to walk fast enough to be able to understand his instructions because he doesn't stop moving.
It is true. People will just, okay, whatever. I can escape.
Yeah. I've flown a lot in the last 4 months, and I have become keenly reminded of how slow most people walk at the airport. Because what I do now is I get to the airport and I just walk until it's time to go to the gate. So I'm like moving. And it's like the slowpoke walk. You get caught behind that wall of people. Yeah.
I'm weaving in and out of traffic constantly when there's people around. Not street traffic, but walking people.
A-Ray Pierce says, the one time I visited Nicole, the neighbor asked if I was going to move there. We tried to get A-Ray Pierce to move to Tennessee. Would have been a great addition to anywhere in Tennessee, actually. L to Survive says, any of you run an Airbnb? I ran an Airbnb on my own property for a really long time, and it's now the cabin that Tactical lives in. And the house that the Eversoles, Holler Neighbor Eversoles, are in was an Airbnb for like 2 months until they needed more of a long-term solution. And I did that because I would rather do the Airbnb thing because it's less destructive to your property than local renters. But I also put it out on my podcast that if you wanted to Airbnb it, I had a special podcast listener discount. So there was that. And then if anybody was more interested in a long-term thing or a month, like 12 of you want a different month of the year, whatever, that I was open to that concept as well. That property is close enough to where I live that controlling what happens at that property was very important to me, which is part of the motivation. Besides the fact, part of my long-term financial plan is rental property related. Also, when the place next door is not under your control and you can hear and see the place next door, it's not fun. And we've had a couple of negative experiences in both places next door. So
plus with the Airbnb, the sheriff will show up and throw their shit out. Whereas if you have rented to them, they have renters' rights, and that changes things depending, especially where you are.
Yeah.
So there's a guy I've been dealing with, actually, a guy who is looking at buying a portion of my business, and he does an Airbnb. So he has a house that he bought. He's a single guy. He lives upstairs. He turned his basement into four individual rooms, and then it has a shared kitchen. And he Airbnbs it to oil guys when they come to town because there's hotels here, and the hotels are nice, but you pay a lot. So he figures in 3 months worth of Airbnbs, he makes more than if he were to rent it as apartments for the entire year.
Same with rail guys.
Right. Yeah. The rail guys, same thing. We have a lot of rail around here too. And not in our town, but about a half hour away, they do a killer business there with the rail guys.
Yeah. And I think that's cool. That's what my Airbnb here seasonally did really well. And then part of the year was empty. So I had to make enough during the seasonal part because I didn't keep it full year round in this area.
Man, if I had a place close, I would fill it up with stuff. It'd be a storage unit again.
That is the rule of storage. whatever a person has, the what you own grows to fill the amount of storage you have. There's some kind of law about that, and we have 3 storage units right now, 3 storage like sea cans, storage containers.
Yeah.
And guess what? The third one just filled up 100%. Yep. And I go through it about once a year. We go through it. And I'm like, all right, let's take a sharp eye and get rid of stuff. But it's a struggle all the time.
Yeah, if you want to make money, man, put in storage units. People have an emotional attachment to stuff they don't want to see. As cost of living goes up, you increase your prices. They'll keep paying it because they don't want to come in and relocate that stuff. That's why it's there. They don't want to see it. Some people are going to short term it for 90 days, 6 months while they're moving to another place or whatever. But man, most people just don't ever want to see that. They're also never going to get rid of it because they don't want to take the time to, and it's just residually going to pay over and over and over. And then that's going to pay you to expand and put in more units on the property. And then when they don't pay, you just auction that shit off. You sell it or bring in a container and just dump it.
I deal with a company. They're called Montana Mailbox. So I have a U.S. postal box just over the border. So it's 5-hour trip down, 5 back when I want to go pick stuff up. So once a month I make the trip. The first time I ever went there, the place looked like an auction house where they had everything everywhere. And I said, you guys are busy? Why do you have so much? And they are busy, but their problem was that the owner, the place has been in business for 6 years. He has not got rid of one package that somebody left there over 6 years because he was worried about liability or whatever, So every time I went down, I'm like, you guys need to have an auction. You got to clean this up. You're going to end up, it's going to kill your business because you have no room. You're either going to cost too much. So I just got my latest statement from them, and they now put an addendum on there. Anything over 6 months we can sell and put at auction. So I think they're going ahead with it. But I've had every time I go down, I'm like, there's no reason for this, guys. You've got so much shit that could just be gone. Go and sell it. Make money off it because those people, there's no liability there at all.
Yep. Okay, we got a question here. Well, first I'm going to finish the rental thing. In West Virginia, removing tenants is a costly, painful kind of hell. That's the other thing about rental properties we didn't say. Very local market dependent on what you want to do. Like I would never own a rental in Portland, Oregon. And I did at one point before they changed all their rules. So you need to look at your rights as a landlord, a tenant law, and then the reality of what it takes when you do need to evict somebody, because that is a deal. Okay, Andrew Campbell says, how much time do you allocate to product versus social media? I have a minimum of 20 hours a week on content and social media, and often more personally. And then in addition to that, I'm fulfilling Hollow Roast orders and working on the Self-Reliance Festival. So I don't know if that answers your question, but what do you do, Tim?
I'm about 40 hours a week into content now, and it is paying off. But I mean, it's an investment in time, between that and my business and all the other work. Yeah, it's close 30 to 40 hours between, right now, 3 episodes of podcasts a week. And another thing I did this year was I said, I'm going to concentrate on making the best damn review videos I can do. So I've gone from probably 2 hours per video to about 10 hours per video, but I'm seeing results for it. So it is what it is. But yeah, so about 40 hours a week I'm spending on content right now.
You got anything to add to that, John?
The truth is, I don't know how much I spend on it. A couple hours a day, probably. But I mean, I have 2 guys that I pay thousands of dollars a week to that do all. If you're seeing social media content go up someplace, you can tell what I made versus what they made. And it's well worth it. It does not pay for itself yet. It will pay for itself, but it currently has not yet. I'm paying that out of pocket.
And I don't know. I think this was pre-live when we were talking about it, but I've started outsourcing some stuff too. I tried a company, it didn't work out, so I've started just getting a whole bunch of shorts made through Fiverr, and then somebody I met through the Self-Reliance Festival is doing the clips from the podcast. So it comes to a point when you're making some money from it that you can buy yourself more time by outsourcing the things you hate to do. And you know what I hate to do? Editing. So eventually there'll be no editing done by me whatsoever.
I was literally editing a short this morning, in iMovie, and I had to go. It exported to like the aspect ratio we're looking at, like here, but I had recorded it on my phone like this on purpose.
Oh yes.
And I could not figure out how to export it, so I go look how to do it, and there was a convoluted 17,000 step process for exporting it and then bringing it into Canva and making it. And I just decided that I would deal with the wrong aspect ratio on that and chuck it. I'm like, I'm not doing it. But yeah, I too have actually started outsourcing some things this month.
Good.
Kind of weird. So I'm about to go back and change the whole process of that, because I have also learned through observation and through some discussions I've had with people what works better than other things, and we're not doing what works better right now. So the schedule is changing this week.
Good. So we build a very good long form content podcast, and we talk about all kinds of things. And then one of our guys takes that and cuts those into shorts and then loads those shorts up. And you know that's what you're getting when you click on that, because they all look the same. They have great lighting, and they have great audio. If you look at, I say Wrangler Star all the time because he's got 2 million followers or so. Everybody knows who Wrangler Star is. And if you look at all Wrangler Star stuff right now, it's all denim. He's got a scarf, and he does a couple of things: the Act Accordingly videos, and he does the U.S. Forestry Service videos. And then he does long-form content also. But you know when you click on those, they all look the same, and you know what you're getting. And if you like that, you come back. And that was what keeps working. It all looks the same when you see one of those shorts. So we're in your algorithm. And then when I put up some silly shit that I did in 15 seconds, completely raw, unedited, it jumps and people see that and they wouldn't see it. And that's where the conversion comes from. It's not the click-through revenue. It's the actual, hey, this is this product. And guys are like, oh, I hate that. Or, I don't like your stupid beard. I get that a lot. But for every 1,000 of those, there's a real customer in there, a real client. And then when I say every night at 9 o'clock when I do a live on YouTube, I'm like, hey, I see a lot of new names here. How did you guys get here? And they say, we got here from the shorts. And now we can have a real conversation about anything they want to talk about. And we'll get one of those guys out to SRF, or we'll get one of those guys to the website, or these guys will, send an email and go, hey, what sewing machine? And we just talk to them about anything they want to talk about.
So another guy I was following for a while, he was talking about there's a guy on TikTok that reviews old books, and he has like this vest thing. Everybody knows the dude. They might not know who his name is, but every time you see a video, you know what you're going to get. That's where this hat came from. Yeah. So it doubles as, so every single video from now on, my hat is going to be on in there, so that when people see it, it's like, oh, that's that crazy Canuck that has that weird hat with his patch on it, and it's just a piece of branding that grabs people. Now, it doesn't mean anything to any of your regular followers. They're just there. They listen to you, but that's just an anchor that pulls people in. And they're like, I don't know the dude, but I know his generator videos are really good, so I'll watch some more of that. It's subconscious branding, I guess.
It's your costume or your uniform.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think, I don't know. It's something I'm getting better at, is more consistency. I've had to brand all over the place for the last year, which was dumb.
Rebrand. Bring all your stuff into, one thing.
Yeah.
Like I know you have your normal audience, right? But how many is that audience, right? And if you change it, how many are going to be mad and you're going to lose?
None of them care.
So black background, that sign pretty. I know somebody probably gave it to you. Black background or a wood background. Put a pallet wall back there. Put some lighting down on the floor, red shining up or blue, and watch what happens. Just start building your shorts where they all look like that. I guarantee you're gonna quadruple it in, like I say, 6 months, probably even less than that.
It absolutely. So I just rebranded my podcast at episode, what was it, 250 or 300? I came on and I'm like, well, guys, I need to let you know. Episode 300 is going to be the last episode of the Workshop podcast. And, I left it there for a second. I'm like, because we're rebranding to Workshop Radio, because I like it, rolls off the tongue. It's a little different than what other people do. I've embraced the talk radio kind of format. I like that. It's just a little different. And people have really embraced it. I like that brand.
I would think out of all of us, I would think you, Tim, could get syndicated to a real radio show or like an AM, kind of like what Prepping 2.0 does. They broadcast it. I think you could do that. I don't see why you couldn't.
That is 100. So this is the power of community. Throw it out there right now. If somebody somewhere, that is one of my goals, just because I'm old fashioned and I love that. I want to be on AM talk radio or FM. I don't care, but I want to be on terrestrial radio somewhere, and it's going to happen. It's actually in my goals for, not necessarily this year, but it's in my goals because yes, that 100%, that's where I want to be. I'd love to be on shortwave too, just because I'm a geek with that weird stuff. There's not a huge audience there, but it would be a feather in my cap to say, hey, I'm on shortwave.
Put it out there. Put it on shortwave.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do it yourself. Hey, how's that generator, man? Amanda and I were at Harbor Freight 3 weeks ago, and she goes, hey, they got these generators. And we look, and none of them were dual fuel. And then, boom, you showed up with a dual fuel one.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, my God. Again, I have reached out to Furman. Well, okay, let's back up. First off, Harbor Freight, see, I get all geeky about generators. John does it on purpose to get me.
He said generator again.
Oh, Evan. Okay, cool. Well, Evan and I will talk, buddy. So
I need to talk to Evan about something too.
In my community, I get this message from Chicken Hawk. He's awesome dude. He's like, have you seen this, Tim? It's an 8-second clip of Harbor Freight going with a remote start on a generator. That's what got me going. I'm like, oh. I go downstairs, I record a video. I said, I don't know what's coming. Let's speculate. I did a community poll, and everybody wanted a dual fuel with a remote, whatever, anyway.
Yep.
So they release it 6 hours after it's released. I make a spotlight video. I don't own the thing. I just do a video based on all the cool features. So then another guy reaches out to me, and he's like, hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but Furman is getting ready to release a tri-fuel inverter generator. So now it's my mission to get a hold of that before they release it.
What does tri-fuel mean? Just natural gas and propane and gas?
Yeah. So my home generator that I have, the 9,200 watt Furman, it's propane, natural gas, and gasoline. But yeah, I get excited about these. I like that they're adding some new features that people really want.
Here's something else that was not on my radar at all. The video you put up yesterday, day before, which led me to ask. Does anybody make adapter plates so that I can use DeWalt batteries on Milwaukee and vice versa? And the answer is yes, they do. And they are pretty readily available. They're just not pushed out there to our knowledge because they want you stuck in their battery. But if you have a tool head, a raw tool that you want to use another battery, there's a plate you can slip right in there and use your other battery. So that's pretty cool. And I learned that from Tim Sunday, as a matter of fact.
Every single time I do a video on those, or even, so I just threw a picture. I think the one you might have seen was just the picture I put up of the little hand trimmer. Is that the one it was?
Yes.
Yeah. That's all it's unreal how interested people are in those. And I keep doing videos on them because people don't realize they're there. I run all my Harbor Freight stuff off DeWalt batteries because it's a friggin' $20 adapter from Amazon.
I had a hand trimmer when I was a child that looks just like that thing you had. It was Black & Decker. And it had a cord. We used to have to run extension cords to use lawn equipment back then. And while Nicole was saying she needs to talk to Evan, for people that don't know, Evan's answer is yes. If you guys have a problem or you need a process set up or you need your website optimized, Evan is really, really good. He is like a genius at that stuff. And I know he's like, no, don't tell them that. But if you're in the network and you need something, like he was looking at my website. He's like, hey, dummy, like you need to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, no, we can't do that because limitation of this. And he's like, no, like just let's.
I removed said limitation.
Yes, he's really good. He's expensive, guys. He's expensive. You get what you pay for. If you're running around with broke fucking people all the time, you're never gonna raise up. Like you got to pull yourself up. Not all what you got to look up. You can't be looking down.
And it's worth it to get that stuff in order. And yes, Andrew, we did answer your question.
Evan is another dude who has gone full time, right? Recently, 3, 4, 5 months ago.
Oh, yes, he has left the paycheck plantation.
And we got another one, Sean Mills. I got to shout him out again because that's pretty recent for him with the solar. And I just love hearing it. anytime somebody messages me and says, hey, I just went full-time, or even I just started a part-time. I had a lady the other day, I don't have the name right now, sent me a bunch of dog treats, and she started.
Oh, you got dog treats too. You got them too.
Oh, it was awesome. And I was so excited because there was a nice thank you in there. And she said, John and Nicole and Jack and Tim. And I'm like, it still gives me chills on the back of my neck whenever somebody sends me something like that or says it, because that's the shit. We were joking the other day and we were talking about, if somebody reaches out for help and you give them some advice and they follow it, you'll help them again. But if they don't, you know what, that next email might go unread for a long time, because you just don't have time to help everybody as much as you want to.
There's different phones too, right? For companies, like a lot of dudes have 2 and 3 phones.
Yeah.
So, like I got a buddy owns Barrett Firearms, and you used to just be able to text Chris all the time, and then one day you text Chris and you're like, this doesn't sound like Chris. Who is this? That's his. That's his assistant.
Yeah.
You have to get the other phone number now.
It's a big deal when you get somebody's phone number, though. It's nice because then you respect it. It's an in, because then you've earned or you've gained access to somebody that you have the right to pick their brain. Just don't abuse it, but it's awesome.
Right. That's the key, is when you are in that position, really use it when you need it, and don't, especially somebody who is successful in building their business, because they'll take the time, but eventually they'll be like, eye roll, this person is reaching out to me again. And then next thing you know, you're not getting answers. So
I don't talk on the phone. So if you ever get a phone call that says it's coming from me, you better really think twice before you answer that, because I'm going to ask you for something that you're about to get involved in. You probably don't want to be involved in. Because if I'm calling you, something's really, really wrong.
Yeah.
If you're calling me, John, the answer is yes. I mean that 100%. I'm not even, but I don't have to say it.
There's a handful of those guys, and they all fit right here.
Yeah. Yep. And that's one of those calls that I wouldn't. It's like there are a couple people where you will drop everything, even this live stream, to answer it.
Yep.
I gotta take the call.
Watch too. There's people doing that with Chat GPT and sending emails out or sending calls out and asking, mom and grandma for money because, Johnny's in jail and shit like that. There's a ton of, like, the FBI just released this whole new scam thing about it.
I want to know if Zelle can tell that you have a Google number.
What is Zelle? Sorry.
Zelle is like this financial thing that the banks love to use that's crap that transfers money. So it basically is like PayPal, only the banks like it. But you can only associate one bank account with one phone number.
Okay.
That's how Cash App, same thing. I have to remove one before I can use another.
Yeah, which is an enormous pain in the butt. Like PayPal, I can just be like, send it to this account or send it to that account and whatever. It's fine. But
did you guys see that PayPal bought Venmo?
Yeah.
Yeah. My silver guy is friggin' awesome, but he doesn't do PayPal. And so it sucks for me being in Canada because I don't have a whole lot of options. He also doesn't do crypto right at the moment. And I tell him he hates money, but he's still a good dude. So I don't bust his balls too much. But so I've been trying to figure out that word because I cannot get Venmo in Canada. So I need to open an American bank account to have it. There's other workarounds for it. But when I seen that, I was like, oh boy.
You should get a silver guy that's going to hook you up on pricing and give you an affiliate link so that you can refer your audience to them to get a percentage of that. I'm
working on that too. This dude makes custom silver rounds. Have you seen those ones that we do?
So I haven't seen yours. We deal with Mutiny Metals.
Okay.
And it's very artistic. It's going to be twice over spot, but they're badass. They're just exactly.
I don't know. Right. It's going to be hard to see. So that says, hold on, I'll get it there if you can. I don't know. There, Toolman Tim's workshop.
That's cool.
And we did it was twice spot. I did an ounce and a half ounce as a kit for $100. And cool. I sold every one. I've got one left on my Shopify site right now, but they're awesome. We're getting ready to do. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Lots Project had something. What are you going to go do?
Very next. So I'm already launching the next one. We're doing 1 ounce. I'm going to call it something like the end of the world currency or something. So the first one's going to be Y2K. The next one's going to be the Mayan 2012. Then there's going to be the 2008 bank collapse. It's basically, the meme. Millennials have been alive for 40 years and they've lived through ends of the world. So each one's going to be one of those, and we're going to do a 1 ounce, and people are excited about it. That's the next one coming.
It's cool. Very cool.
Yep. Somebody's talking about burner phones. I'm not going to use a burner phone for Zelle. Too much money.
So Zelle works with Google Voice, Evan says.
Yeah, that's. I actually thumbs up that yeah.
Tool Cove, I think he's about to go. He's getting his business online. I don't know if he's leaving his slave job or not, but he's starting to do that. The common denominator when you talk to guys that have run a business for a while, or 6 months or whatever, is like, why did I wait so long? That's what they all say. Why did I wait so long?
Do you realize you can get by on two things? You realize you can get by on less than you think you can, and you also realize that running your own business, you can make the money you need and not work as hard as you necessarily thought you'd have to. I'm not saying it's not hard work, but all of a sudden you're like, wow, I can charge what I want. And if you find that sweet spot, you can do well quick.
Think about how much money people pay to have shit that they don't want. If a tornado wiped everything away tonight, right, and Amanda and I are still alive, what would we do tomorrow? It would look different than it looks right now, for sure. I don't know what it would look like, but it would look different.
Yeah. There's a lot of wisdom to that. I mean, it's always funny when you talk about your big motivator is when you've spent a lot of money to make more money.
Yeah, I have to have something catastrophic that's going to happen to motivate me to do shit. Sometimes I put myself in those positions.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the whole burn the bridges mentality too, isn't it? I mean, you've talked about you changed my mind, on that.
Yeah.
Even now, I talked to a young guy the other day at the local farm supply shop, and he said, can I ask you a few questions about business? Sure. I said, here's the deal. I'm going to tell you two things. First, I'm going to tell you, I really wish that you'd save up some money and do it. But I also said that everybody I've seen recently that's been successful has been the one who's walked away and done it.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not responsible for this, but I went in the other day and he put his notice in. So he's going off to do his own landscaping business. And I said, go for it. I'll help you any way I can.
I think I only know one person who saved money, walked away, and then was successful building their empire. And
he was very successful.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. I don't get along with the take. It's not that I don't get along with them. It's that I think it's more that they don't like me. Is the take it safe guys, right?
Yeah.
Just build up the nest egg and have this and have that. Well, it's like guys talking about I like the heroin stuff. TRT. I don't know why I do this. Testosterone replacement therapy, right? Guys are like, I don't know if I'm old enough for testosterone replacement therapy. I'm 30 years old. Okay, so try all the holistic stuff and mess around with it for 5 years. And then when you're 35 and you decide to do it, you know what's going to happen? You're going to go, shit, I should have done that for the last 5 years. You sleep harder. You move faster. You have more energy. Your somewhat shitty diet still works for you. I mean, I just see these conversations very frequently. Guys ask me about it, and I don't ever tell you what you should do. I tell you what I would do. And then they're like, whoa. I don't know if I'm ready for that. And
you're like, well, I didn't tell you to do it.
and the whole thing is like, well, what happens if you can't get testosterone anymore? Well, I'm going to move a little bit slower. But I can tell you that I didn't use any inputs at all for 2 years during COVID, got a ton of shit done. And you know what I always say? There's thousands of videos of me saying it. Imagine what I would have done if my hormones were optimized properly for that 2 years, because we did a ton of shit during COVID. And it's the same thing with the business stuff, the take it safe guys. Like, you do you. Like, I don't move with people like that. We just don't jive.
I mean, everything we've started. Yeah. I mean, and again, like I said, I used to be the play it safe guy 100%. But I didn't. I walked away from my last job with almost, I had a bit of a business started, but it didn't take off until I was on my own and we sink or swim, and then the daycare was the same thing. Every penny we made from all seasons maintenance went into the daycare. And that, that was a sink or swim. We came very close to pulling the plug on it, but we didn't. And I mean, Becky, she's 10 times more driven than I am. And she just, there's no telling her no. She just keeps going and going. And every time there's an obstacle, we figure out a way to go around it.
It's like the guys that are like, should I start a business? Should I quit my job? So we have a little bit of the conversation and I'm like, what do you really have to pay, right? You've got to pay most dudes. It's rent. insurance, the things that you have. How much do you have to have? What can we get rid of? So, and then they hem and haw. I'm like, what if all your shit burned down tomorrow, right? Then they have a list of all the things they would do. I'm like, okay, well, your shit didn't burn down. Do all the burn down shit and make this happen, because you can show up to work for 8 hours a day. Maybe you work 10 and you get some time and a half or whatever, but you can't work 20 hours a day, right? Most people have no concept of working 20 hours a day, but when you're running your own business, you can work 20 hours a day. You can work harder and have something to show for it. And they have it's just not there anymore.
Yeah. In hindsight, I would have done my podcast a minimum of 3 times a week starting out rather than once a week, because I grew at the same rate for the number of episodes, right? And once I started doing them more often, it was like, boom.
Yeah.
More growth.
Guys are constantly like, I wish I could do this thing. I don't have the money. Well, you've got this thing in your hand telling me you don't have the money. Why aren't you on a lawnmower or delivering, Uber or Lyft or Grubhub or something? Like I talk about, the guys are like, what would you do if I lost everything tomorrow and needed money? I'd drive an hour away to Jackson. I'd get every app for delivery, and I would sit and I would take the best ones, and I would do that literally for 12 hours a day. If I have to nap for 15 minutes here and there in between, but there's always a way to get money. I'm always baffled when people they jump in and they're like, I want to do this thing. Okay, this is how you do it. Well, I can't do it because I don't have money.
I can't because every single time. And you can. And
Yes.
And it's not just, I bust on the Gen Zs, but actually I'm kind of optimistic about them. But it's everybody. I mean, it's my wife's parents' generation. They were that way too, 100%. Like they're just, I can't. But you can, look at all the people who choose to actually do it. And anybody who chooses to actually do it eventually does it. The people
I can't means I won't.
Right. I choose not to.
And it's not for everyone. I mean, there was a dude in here a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? What are you guys up to? I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. And they proceeded to tell me how their boss is an asshole, and he mistreats them, and he just spends all the money outside of the business. I'm like, why don't you leave? He's like, well, he pays me really good. This guy's a manager of a gas station, and this owner of the gas station owns several other gas stations and other things. I'm like, you're the owner of this place. Why don't you go work at another place? Surely you could get another job. And I think that they're just so it's like just walk. How you doing? People are like, oh, I'm here, and they've just conditioned themselves to believe that they're unhappy. And when you really push them on it, are you unhappy, or is this just something you say? Why don't you go do your own thing if you're unhappy? Just put your toe into it.
And I can't figure out, and because I say you make up your mind, you do it. But for many, many years, we lived in the poverty mindset. We lived out of whatever it was. And I was listening to Jack just before I come on, and he was talking about breaking through the wall. And he said that most people who were successful, I forget, there was 2 things he said, but one of them was they made a geographical move. And there's something about that. I'm not telling everybody to up and friggin' pack and move away, but there's something that breaks you out of the chains of whatever your local beliefs are by going somewhere else, because you get to both look at this new place from kind of a bird's eye view, and it also gives you a new frame to look at everywhere you grew up, and you realize, shit, that poverty, that poor mindset, that this is just the way it is. It isn't just the way it is. You just chose to live in it, and you were so blind to it that I don't know how to fix it.
Also, new people will not have typecast you as however you were typecast wherever you were. If you stay in the same job for 25 years at the same place, you have been put in a box at that job. It's very hard to get out of that box. You move to a different company, you have a blank slate. You can do whatever you want, and they don't know.
Good point.
And I think you're right, Tim. I mean, we did move from San Diego to middle of nowhere, Tennessee. We packed everything up, and we knew a couple of people here. But any of the hooks, the family members that are going to drag you down, or the people that just show up, there's no access. And one of the biggest things is just eliminating access. There are very few people that have access, past this. It's like Hermosi, big podcast guy, big money dude. And I heard him say, he's like, if I haven't if I haven't hung out with you in a year, I'm not coming to your funeral. I'm not coming to your wedding. Don't invite me, because it wasn't important enough for me to go to you, and it wasn't important enough for you to come to me. I am super focused on making these things happen, and I'm putting everything I have into those people that are with me right here. Like you're not gonna see me attend anybody's wedding out of here. It's just not. Don't invite me. And usually it's not people I know that invite me. It's people that I don't know that invite me. Not to be an asshole. I'm just doing my thing, and my thing works because I do my thing. Like I'm not coming to your funeral. I haven't seen you in years. It's not happening. It wasn't important enough to see you while you were alive. I'm definitely not coming to watch them put you in the ground.
It's a good point.
Alex Armosi.
I remember quite a few years ago, it's one of the first times I actually said no to somebody. It was a good friend of mine who asked me if I could be a pallbearer for his father. And I'm like, I can't, no. I didn't know the dude. I didn't have the time. And before that, I was always the type of person that would just, yep, didn't matter. I would say yes, I'd commit, and I wouldn't do it. And I'm still not perfect at that by any means. But I remember that, and I was like, shit, yeah. And it felt weird for a minute, but then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, yeah, I can live with it, and whatever. If somebody takes that offense to it, well, it doesn't matter because they don't matter.
Yeah.
And that line is different for everybody, where that line is. For me, I will go to my family.
Sure.
The ones who are my family. And they can be family by blood or not.
That's right. I mean,
but if they need me, I go.
People are like, when are you going to come see me? I'm not. We have 3 events here where 1,000 people, most of them I don't know. It's important enough for them to come here. If it's important enough for you to see me, you will come here. 1,000 strangers come here. But the guy asking when I'm going to see him I'm not coming to see you ever. It's never happening.
Yeah. So, guys, if you want to see John Willis in person, come to Self-Reliance Festival. Tickets are early bird pricing through August 1st, selfreliancefestival.com.
Most
seemed like it fit there.
Most of my closest friends, and some of them, are because of Self-Reliance Festival. That's real. Like Evan and I would say, and I don't know what Evan thinks, but I'm probably closer than Evan's in like my top, definitely my top 10 people that I communicate. And we communicate one-word sentences, right? But there is always something actionable and of value. I gain a lot from Evan from the one-sentence conversations that we have. Same Bob Lester. That's another one. Like he's a great dude. You have that board of directors when you're about to do something and you want people to have other input. And you should always have that board of directors. You should have that 5 or 10 people when you're about to do something to look at it from a different venue that you trust enough that you would, just make the decisions on the course of your life and have them have input on that. Everybody should have somebody like that in their lives. You should have several of them.
And they should be people who are not afraid to call you on your bullshit.
Yes, right. There are many times when I sit down with people and I'm like, look, do you want the normal conversation you've had, or do you want the real conversation that you're going to walk away with? You're not going to like the conversation. And this happened recently. I'm like, look, I'm going to say some things that need to be said because nobody's saying them to you. And this is going to be very uncomfortable. And you might walk out of here and we never speak again. I go, I am at peace with that. But what I hope happens is this makes you uncomfortable. You walk out of here, maybe angry, whatever, but it's going to sink in, and this is going to correct the course, and it's going to be better for everybody involved, especially you.
Yeah.
And that's the people that care about you. So I had Joel Riles on the other night. We had a great conversation. It was awesome. Every time we talk, we're like that. And we talked about that. And I said, when I first started getting into finding our people, into the kind of the greater anarchist group, some people rubbed me the wrong way at first because I wasn't used to being told the truth, because everybody's so used to, just let it slide, whatever. And then when you realize that's the people that really care about you, then you start doing that for other people as well. And that becomes that those are the people that you surround yourself with, is the people that'll tell you, they'll call you out on your bullshit, because if they don't, why bother?
Yes.
Yep. They're also the ones who give you things to do that you weren't expecting to add to your to-do list, but there it is.
Yep.
Oh, usually it starts like this, Nicole, what you should do is, and from certain sources, when that happens, I'm like, I'm just going to write that down and I'm not going to argue and I'm going to try it.
Every time
the worst thing that happens is I try it and it doesn't work. Usually it works great.
It's it's like a clock, right? And you're on this course at 12 o'clock. And 12 o'clock in 1 second, most people don't even know that thing's clicked 1 second. But 10 miles down the road, those paths, they can't even see each other. And it's just like Tim. Tim started as Tim the Toolman, the handyman. And he's not doing handyman shit anymore. And when he's doing handyman shit, he's getting paid a lot of money, $100 a unit for 70 units. I don't know what he said. Let's say it's 70 units, $100 per unit. He doesn't have to touch most of those. That's just every month. He has to touch a few of them, right? So now he's doing other things. He's got a property management company. And it's like that. Like people like, I don't have time. Oh, I can definitely find you fucking time. Like if you come to me and ask me how to do something and I tell you what I would do and you tell me how you can't do it, I can find you time. I promise you. There is shit that is not making you money that is being done, and we can delete that, right? I can find you 5 hours a day most of the time.
I would venture to say that almost not, maybe not the most successful people, but yes, I would. I mean, for me, it was stupid, simple. And they're like, I give up baseball. That was so fucking stupid. It was like 3 hours a night all summer long. And that was the catalyst that I used to turn it into content creation. I just decided I'm done. And that's been, I think, 3 summers now I haven't watched it. And, well, it must be nice. Well, yeah, you know what? That's where I found my time. Everybody has some time. How often do you pick this friggin' thing up? I get back from my early morning walk and I sit in the truck for a minute. I'm like, nope, put it down and get going.
Yep. Like Windows 98, I'm buffering. Oh, shit, I'm stuck.
Right. And because it can happen really quick. And then all of a sudden that buffering goes to a full-on shutdown. You're like, no, come on, Tim, get going.
That's the danger of posting to TikTok, because while your video is uploading, if you close it, your video stops uploading. And so it's like throwing other shit at you. That then you're like, oh, what's this?
That has become, so I have moved all my editing to the PC. And that's actually helped me a lot. That wasn't the reason I did it, but it's been a huge thing. So all my tabs are open and it's short to, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
How are you getting it to TikTok from your PC?
Oh, easy.
An app?
No, I use I'm in Chrome. There is an app, but I go right to the site.
Last time I tried that, it didn't work. I'm going to totally go that way.
Let me tell you something else too. When you're putting your videos up and you've authored your video, even though you're not sharing it from TikTok, don't ever move your video with a watermark. Post them directly. TikTok goes to TikTok, Instagram goes to Instagram. A lot of these platforms know that you have put the same video, even though you didn't share it from one to the other. They know you generated it right here on the phone and pushed it to multiple platforms. They're going to throttle your shit back. When you push it from the computer, the platforms do not know that you pushed it from the computer, and you will get better reach when you load them individually. Now, if we're talking TikTok, Nicole, definitely go ahead and load it from the phone to TikTok.
Yeah.
And then send that video to the computer and push that video to the other platforms from the computer. This is, we've not done a ton of testing on this, but that's kind of what we've moved to doing. And somebody with a million plus followings on social told us that. They reached out and they're like, hey, stop that watermark bullshit. You're being lazy.
See, John just gave me a to-do item.
And
thank you.
Yeah, if you back that down, if you create the video, because what a lot of people do is they create the video on TikTok. But if you just back it up one step and create it off TikTok, you don't have to repeat anything. You just create it here and then boom, 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 boom.
Yep. Now that doesn't apply. It doesn't matter if it's Meta, right? If you're doing Instagram to Facebook, it's just not going to matter.
They're the same thing.
I don't think we even care about algorithm reach on Facebook anymore.
No. I mean, I have been getting a surprising number of conversions lately on Facebook. But with my experience with Facebook, it's a mountain and then it's a valley. It's a mountain and it's a valley.
Oh, it's old people.
They screwed up they do that all the time, but their shorts, their reels. I love reels on Instagram, and I know they're the same. So they were pushing them hard, and they were paying creators big bucks, like $800 a month to just basically
for 4 months.
Yeah, and then they just shut it off.
They're just like whoop rug. Yep. Yeah,
and it went from you were getting all kinds of followers from the shorts to you get a couple, and I don't know what they did to the algorithm, because they are a pay to play platform. Facebook is 100%. So. I'm still there. I live stream to Facebook. I use it because it's a tool and I find people from there, but I don't.
You're live streaming to Facebook right now.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, I am an old person. I'm 52, right? But Facebook is where you can target market. If you need to reach a market in your area, typically people on Facebook are going to have money. And the way the back end works, you can pick people that are only homeowners with a median income of $250,000 or $1 million. You can set that. You can target women that only drive Mercedes-Benz. You can really laser focus where your ad money is being spent for those customers.
I spent about an hour after you sent me that reel the other night, John, going down the rabbit hole researching it, and it's interesting. I liked it. I can't remember the name of the company right at the moment, but what they're doing is cool. Very interesting.
How to ethically steal all of your competitors' client list.
And what a great friggin' title too. But yeah, I watched that and I think about an hour in bed. I'm like, oh, all right, let's start reading about the company and find out what they do and how it works. And
yeah, that's what same on Instagram, man. When we come out with a product, I look at what other people that have that product and we look at their hashtags and we just rip that hashtag list that's applicable to us. And people look at, like everybody says, oh, hashtags are dead. Maybe, but I still use them. If for nothing else, I can go find my pictures of my product on the platforms because we use hashtag SOE tool rollup, hashtag SOE whatever. And then we also use it without the SOE. So we catch both of those. We also use the color of the product. So people that like that multicam black, we use hashtag multicam black. I spent 4 hours while we were in the vehicle the other day just running through the hashtags on multicam black just to see what was out there that I was not aware of, to see what my clientele was looking at.
I look at hashtags like political signs. You know, everybody puts them up and they become background noise, but the one guy who doesn't put them up isn't going to get elected.
Yep.
That's kind of how I look at them, for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
But as far, I don't know. The targeted marketing thing, like you said, it's a big thing on Facebook for sure. That's the place to absolutely target the people you want to bring in. I haven't done a lot of pay to play period for my content, but have you done much of it, John, at all or no?
So for certain, yes, we have.
Okay.
But I'm selling a product. I have a tangible product that we can push. Yes. What about Twitter? Twitter's no longer Twitter. It's now X.
It's X.
Elon Musk says there's going to be a banking function in there. Highly doable, right? He was one of the guys that started PayPal. So that'll be interesting to see where that goes. There's a lot of guff over it. People are very upset or, I don't know. We'll see what happens with it.
I love it. So we were talking about stealing people's, audience and things like that. So another tip that I've been looking at and working at is look at channels that are way bigger than yours. So there's one guy I watch all the time that has about 700,000 subscribers, and just model your shit after him. It doesn't mean you're going to copy everything they do, but what they're doing is successful and you're in their niche. So my thumbnails have been kind of modeled after what he does. I spent 2 hours watching the first 15 seconds of every one of his videos to find out why his intros are as good as they are. And I try to bring that in. That's the type of shit you have to do. If you want that 1% improvement, so 2 hours.
We're starting to mess with that, right? I sliced my hand open pretty good the other night in the dark, pulling hoses hand over hand where I was mowing in the dark. And a hose clamp, to put the hose sections back together, that had been cut off, and it's laid me open pretty good. And we're making a video about the differences with the hose clamps. There's the kind that you tension onto the brass barb, and then you have the two pieces that screw down.
Yeah.
I like those. They're smooth. They can't cut you, but they catch on stuff when you're pulling them around corners and stuff. The other type you just cut off. Well, if we'd have left it 1 inch longer and turned it under with needle nose, the sharp edge would have been concealed and wouldn't have cut, right? So we're building a video on that and talking about your intros and your lead-ins on the videos. We're doing a slice my hand, oh my God, and then you see lifeline land, right? So people are going to be like, oh my God, what happened? And then we have another one, the golf ball trick, right? Well, the golf ball trick is when your tarp corner rips out, you take a golf ball or a rock and you take the material and wrap it around and you whip stitch it. Now you have something to girth hitch off that golf ball, and you can put your tarp back up. We're going to do one where the dude's driving a golf ball and boom, it blows up and it's the tannerite. So it just transitions straight into the golf swing and it's going to do the golf ball trick. But it's real actionable information. But for that clickbait, for that click through, that's what we're doing for the intro on the video. So it'll be like a little mini 30-second movie in the beginning. It'll be highly produced versus, what the normal content is.
Because you don't need that intro to pull in the people who are already watching you.
Correct.
I mean, they're going to watch it either way. They'll be entertained by it. But that intro is designed to pull in people who've never seen you before. And
That's
then you
right.
bring them in. It's the eyeballs thing. You know, if you have 1,000 people who are like, holy shit, that Tannerite thing was kind of cool, I'll watch the next 30 seconds. And if you get 10 of them to convert to come over, one of them on your live stream, well, every single time you're doing well.
And how many guys are watching that and see that and they're like, holy shit, and they immediately share it, not even knowing what the full-length video is.
That also happens.
Oh, yep. I get shit all the time. People, they share it with you, and you're like, you didn't even watch that. I know you didn't. Because if you did, you never would have shared it with me.
Yep.
Nicole, I recently started a coffee roasting company. Any advice? Yeah, sell your coffee.
Get really big and then roast Nicole's coffee.
Yeah, that's also true. I either need a roasting assistant or an outsourcing arrangement, and I'll just throw that out there because it is time. It is time. Is it better to keep one name across social media?
Yes.
Yes. Why would you not? Unless you're starting another brand. I literally say it every single day and every night on live feed. Guys are like, hey, I'm buying this. I'm getting this URL. Get your .com, get your .net. If you don't plan to blow up, don't worry about the others. And then get all the exact same name on every single platform. So much so that if one of them is already taken, I would consider changing the name so that they can be consistent all the way across. I don't get why Fifi Fifey Joe comes on and I'm like, hey, you're talking and we're having this conversation, but I don't recognize your name. Well, that's because I'm Joe Trans Am on the other platform. Why do people do that? And remember making your email addresses. Don't make your email addresses like you're some asshole 11-year-old kid. Like make it easy for your client to remember it, and your URL should say in the name what you do. SOE Tactical Gear. Just that's it.
Not SOE Tactical Gear 6969, you know?
Yes. And when you spell that shit, and when you spell it wrong, tactical, and you've already got the URL, you're fucked. Like they don't fix it. So go buy that URL and redirect it to the other one.
That's 3/4 the reason why my email address is the real Tim Cook, because it was people could hear that off my, like for whatever reason, a lot of times when I say Tim, people are like, oh, Jim, you know, but when they hear the real Tim Cook, it was so easy to spell. Nobody ever once asked me, is there an E on it when you say the real Tim Cook? I don't know why, but they don't. And they always get it right. And that's why I designed that one that way.
Yep.
You can buy names from people too.
Yes, a lot of people. And that's what I tell guys. When they're like, hey, I'm going to start this thing. I go, do you have all your social? No. I go, then don't tell another person, because some asshole that heard you say it is going to go buy it. And they're going to sit on that motherfucker and get, you know, they're going to want $7,000. They're going to want $10,000. And as your business gets bigger, they're going to want more and more money.
There's a guy who owns toolmantim.com, because I don't own that one. And because and he's owned it since long before I even started as a thing. And it's just a little, all he has is his Twitter and Instagram handle on there, and none of it's been updated. It's just been sitting for years. So I want to buy it from him. I just need to piss or get off the pot and actually fucking do it.
You know what I do? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I get somebody else without my domain to reach out for things like that on purpose. Because the minute it's like, oh, and they are locked into a brand,
sure,
price goes up.
That's a really
that's how you should be buying property too. When you need to amass property, buy it through a holding company or a law firm or something.
Yeah.
There's some mom that has Brandles on Instagram, right? Brandle Films or whatever I don't want to say what his name is. I don't want you guys going to look at it, but his actual name on there, and he can't get it. She wants $7,000 for it. That's where I got the $7,000 number from. Yeah.
Yeah. I have one I've been trying to get for a long time, and they keep countering with 35,000.
Oh
yeah.
I've never reached out to them. It's always been somebody else.
Sure.
Yeah. It's called cyber squatting. I had a kid that worked for me 30 years ago in Oceanside, and they called him Porn Friend. His name was Mike Porn Friend, but they called him Porn Friend. And he set up push through porn websites, him and his brother. He made so much money. I think that he was able to get out of his contract in the Marine Corps. He was making so. Anyways, he set up some websites for us and stuff. And he bought SurefireTactical.com, Eagle In. He bought a bunch of people in that industry's URL names. They were dumb. They didn't have them. And he sold all of those to those. He's BlackhawkIndustries.com, Blackhawk.com. He had both of those. and they gave him like 20 grand worth of gear. He brought it back and sold it all through Camp Pendleton, but they gave him $20,000 of product for that URL.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah. There was a lot in the
awesome.
late 90s. And
it's awesome until it happens to you.
Well,
yeah.
That's why I'm telling guys, right? I own 175 URLs right now.
That's awesome.
They're all applicable to my shit and other companies that I'm involved in. Like, I don't own any because I'm trying to cyber squat somebody. I don't care if you do, more power to you. But if you have some idea and you think you're going to run with it, keep your mouth shut and go get them. You can get all of that stuff handled in under 2 hours.
You should.
I would never lease a domain name.
No,
one of our LLCs, but no, because the price goes up when you build your brand, and then you're screwed.
You're fucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're putting it on print and merchandise.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's why I haven't changed my phone number in forever, because it was on all my business cards. I didn't want to. So once all season sells, I may actually. We'll see. But
well, then I won't know who's texting me.
I'll be like, hey,
I'm kidding. I gotta reach you. I can get hold of Toolman Tim Cook.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. We're an hour and a half in. How you guys doing on time?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Guys, Absolutely. If you have questions, get them in, because this should be a conversation, not just between the three of us, but I mean, not that I mind, but.
So I cut back here. I'll throw this out here that you guys can give me some idea. Well, anyway, but I cut back to 3 podcast episodes a week for the summer. So I'd have Saturday nights off to do family stuff. And I don't know if it's completely, if they're correlated or not, but my podcast traffic has gone way down over the last 4 weeks. And I don't know if that's because I dropped it, or if it's just because it's summer, or because I've been spending all my time on the YouTube. What do you think? Could be all be.
So I was talking to Jack about growing podcast numbers, because I get a lot more audio downloads than anything else, and because I started as an audio podcast. And so part of my strategy is make even more audio downloads, because people who are attracted to what I have to say are busy people. So they're listening while they're doing something else, right? Even the people who watch me on YouTube, I think mostly listen to me on YouTube rather than watch my face on the screen. So he was saying his worst time of year for downloads is right now.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Because people are off doing things, but it could also be that your frequency went down. And if you changed your schedule, that throws people off too. Because I know I changed my schedule this year, and it was like boop, 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 boop. And then it had to build back up.
And I'm okay with it. It was a decision I made that I wanted Saturday nights for other things this summer. And I was cool with it. It's still 3 nights a week. But I kind of thought, like, this is the first year where my numbers are big enough that I can really appreciate a dip.
Yeah.
In that. So I wondered if it might be a bit of the, and I am amazed at how many people watch live streams or watch replays of live streams. It blows me away, to the point where I've now decided that when I do a pre-recorded podcast, audio only, I'm going to throw it up on YouTube anyway. I don't know why I haven't been doing it before.
The picture there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't care about the podcast. Like, we had our stuff auto-populating. We would rip audio and put it to podcast, and it would cross-platform. And something has happened there where it's not working correctly. But all of our stuff is coming. I mean, our stuff is so much coming off of YouTube that we have a $10 membership. When we put the podcast out for the first 90 days, you can't even access it without being a $10 member. If you don't want to join, that's no problem. There's a lot of other perks in there with that $10. But it comes out 90 days after the fact, and then we see a huge spike also. Now, I'm probably making a mistake by not pushing and developing that podcast, audience, because you're going to have to move to a sponsored, advertisement or sponsors to monetize that. You're not getting paid off of podcasting.
That's a big. So I listen to Nicole a lot about that too, because you didn't make money off your podcast, right, Nicole? Your podcast sells coffee for you. Was that kind of where it started? Or
originally, my podcast sold the coffee.
Right.
That was my first blip of support, and then I added members, but I sold more coffee than I got membership revenue. And then I added webinars to the membership, and that's when that section started growing, because I was just ripping off Jack. I was like, I'll just do the discounts. Well, that's a lot harder to do than you think, first of all. And then they could already get that from him.
Mm-hmm.
So then I added sponsors later when people had asked me for so long to be sponsors that I finally was like, okay, I'll do sponsors. But that is not the majority of my revenue. My revenue comes from membership and coffee.
Typically, people asking you to do sponsors, they don't have the money you need. I'm not saying don't do sponsors with people that reach out to you. But when you're getting 1 million views a week or 1 million interactions a week on YouTube or whatever, you can show that backside to companies that you think you can't do business with and just go, hey, I'm getting 7 million interactions every 30 days on my YouTube. Let's talk about some sponsorship. What do you guys have? And typically, they will get back to you. This is what we have. And then you can negotiate it. Like there's guys with 1 million interactions that are getting $5,000 for an ad read per time, $5,000. That's the check that's coming through from companies with those types of numbers. So take your numbers, build your numbers up, and then reach out to the people that you think, or stuff you've heard on other podcasts, right? And they'll try to give you an affiliate link. An affiliate link is not what they're giving those big guys. An affiliate link is some bullshit. You push the product, tell people how great it is, and then you get a couple pennies or, a couple bucks off of each of those sales. While that company is going to bigger audiences with YouTube creators, and they're paying them $5,000 an episode plus affiliate link.
Now, I got to say, so Amazon affiliate doesn't pay real well.
Correct.
Now, they're going to be my largest single income source this month, which is cool. But I will say that earlier on, I wish I'd have started doing individual affiliate partnerships with companies, because that's your earliest way to make money.
Yes.
Because they don't care. I shouldn't say they don't care, but they'll give you an affiliate code because they don't worry about your audience. They're just, because it doesn't cost them anything if you gain them a sale. So I've partnered with EMP Shield because they're run by people that I trust and I know and are friends. They reached out, but I still did a deep dive into their stuff because I wasn't going to do a video on something if I couldn't stand behind it. That has been huge for me.
Yes.
Huge. And if you watch my video, I start out with I thought this was the same as alien abduction insurance.
Same.
And in my video still to this day, I say, here's the deal. There's third-party verification on their EMP testing. I get it. I can't guarantee you it's going to work, but what I can guarantee you is lightning and surge protection on your whole home. And to me, that's all that matters. And anyway, that portion is going to be, that is going to be my second biggest income stream this month. And that was another thing that came from friendships from within the community. And it actually surprised me because here's the deal. If you look at that video, it has less than 1,000 views, but that video has hit big and it's done really well for me and hopefully done well for them too. But there's ways to make it.
$20,000 of insurance per circuit that has that unit on there.
Yes.
That's what they cover you up to. We had a lightning strike out on a gate out here that's on its own service pole, not protected. It cost me $1,400 to replace the circuit board in that unit. That's what I was charged, was $1,400. I could have put an EMP shield on there for $200, and they would have covered that whole fix.
Reach out to companies you like. Reach out to brands that you trust, because you don't want to be a shill either. You don't want to be pushing whatever it happens to be that you don't believe in. I'm not going to begrudge you, but that's not what I'm going to do anyway. But reach out to, Streamlight, and for me, Streamlight and Coast flashlights, I love. I've reached out to Furman generators 2 or 3 times, and I bet you I've sold, 200 or 300 of their tri-fuel generators through Costco because of my reviews. And but reach out to the companies you trust, and then you feel good about it. The one I bought, those little battery cards, the Batrix, that video blew up on TikTok, 1.6 million views. I get a phone call one day, about 2 days after it blew up, from New Jersey. This guy's like, "Hey, I'm Sam, the CEO of Batrix." He's like, I want to work with you. I'm like, "How did you find me?" He said, our sales went not through the roof, but there was a huge spike and they found my video. So they made me custom Batrix with Toolman Tim's logo on it, the little battery packs. They give me an affiliate link. I think I was their very first affiliate. I've set them up with some other people, but it was a product I already believed in, and it was great. It was easy to partner with them.
I still get pushed that video every couple of days. I saw it Sunday when I was in the vehicle.
It's so weird. It just keeps circling back around, and it's been a really cool experience. That was the first. I mean, not the first time it happened, but that was the biggest time it's happened so far.
But yeah, and it does need to be things you use. Like, you've never seen me promote some stuff that I haven't used for a very, very long time.
Right.
And I'm terrible. We have a ton of affiliate codes. I'm terrible about being on video and pushing them. We almost have to script it in where the people in the room are like, "Hey, you need to mention this, you need to mention that." And EMP Shield is absolutely the easiest one we've ever used.
And they pay you well. They reward you for it. And like I said, it's a good product that fit in with my brand, and it's paid well. And they also, what I love about it is they also give a really good discount to other people.
Yep.
Yes.
It's an easy product, and they're freedom-minded folks. So it's not like there's lots of other products.
And they're not hard to install.
No.
And they're here at all of our events.
They will be at Self-Reliance Festival if you want to talk in depth. Absolutely.
And I'm going to be speaking at their event at the Midwest Preparedness.
Yeah.
You're
I'll see you there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm speaking there too.
I'm going to Prepper Camp again as well. And I joke, when I was there last year, there was me and Joel, maybe that would have been the only kind of anarchist minded. I said, we're going to turn that place into an anarchist loving festival. And there's a bunch of people coming this year. I'm pretty excited about that.
Do you know Epoch Times? They're huge. Do you know they just had a Freedom Festival in Memphis? No. I didn't either. Didn't know anything about it.
That was Freedom Fest.
Didn't know nothing about it until the video I watched this morning where all those guys, those huge names, all those dudes were there at that.
So that event used to be in Las Vegas until COVID, I'm pretty sure. I don't know why they moved it to Memphis, but that was a big policy, like public policy freedom event back in the day.
Of all the places, Memphis.
I know. I saw that they were in Memphis, and I was like, yeah, I'm out that weekend. But I've been to the one in Vegas. So it's an interesting thing. Okay, question. When you have multiple ideas to start businesses, how do you pick the one to start? That's where I'm stuck.
I love you, Haas.
So what are they? Give me some ideas. Don't tell us enough that somebody in here could take your idea. But what is it? What are we doing? And do you have examples of both, right? Post them up the same day on social media and see which one people.
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
How are you tying those with your customer, right? It doesn't. Remember, business means somebody's paying you. People walk in here all the time and they're like, "I started my business." I'm like, "How much money did you make last month?" "I haven't made any money." Then you're not in business yet. There has to be, test those out. And which one do you mind doing, right? Which one do you not want to do? If it took off, would you hate it? I tell people, when you go to work 40 hours a week and you pay your bills and you have that little amount of money left over, and then you accumulate that money for a few weeks to go do this thing. What is that thing that you spend any free money on, right? What is that? Take that and figure out how to make that make money. That thing that you're willing to work and go to a place that you don't like for a small amount of money every day, that money that's left over, what do you do with that money? Can we take that and turn the Airbnb on property in another state? Oh, this is the same guy, but I don't think that's what we're talking about. And selling online is way easier.
Yeah, so he's choosing between Airbnb, buying pallets, and selling online, etc.
Got it. Okay, the pallet.
Which of those things make money now?
So the pallet thing, and you can build a whole nother business off the pallet. There are YouTube channels. That's all. I've not bought a pallet, but I watch those pallet channels. So, and if you have a really good name, people will buy branded merchandise with your name. You could start that company off of that and turn that into you could even turn it into a social media production company once you know what you're doing.
Well, there you go. You can resell the pallets. You can turn them into an aftermarket product you can sell. You can make content from it. Once you've built a little bit of a community around it, you can sell merchandise around it. There's 4 right there. And
the stuff that doesn't pay, the stuff that doesn't sell right away, you don't even have to warehouse it. Take it and donate it someplace and get the tax write-off for it. Now, guys have this idea that, I have all these tax write-offs. Tax write-offs only work if you owe money to the IRS. It removes what you owe. They don't ever pay you because you have tax write-offs. So once your business is going, though, it'll be good to have that.
And I really like, again, I always tell people that one of the first things to start with, if you have no money, everybody says, well, I want to start a widget making business, but it's going to cost me $1 million. Well, like Joel said the other night, go start a lemonade business or go push a lawnmower. Pallets are free. They're stacked up everywhere. The cost of entry is almost zero. And yes, people do buy pallets. Somebody asked if people buy pallets. Isn't it Jack whose father was doing pallet reselling? He'd go pick up pallets and resell them, or somebody was in our community anyway.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think we're talking about 4x4 shipping pallet. I thought we're talking about like Amazon return pallets.
Did I misread that?
I don't know.
So there's whole YouTube channels where all people do is pallet stuff. And what they do is they go into Hobby Lobby and all these places, and they show you on Pinterest, and they show you on what's that little website where people won't make a real website, so they pay that place a huge Etsy.
Etsy.
Oh yes.
They go on Etsy and they look at the highest performing pallet wood products, and then they make them, and they're like, okay, this guy sold 400 of these this month, and he charged $120 for this. I just cut these out of these pallets, and I made them, and they take 10 minutes, and then they start – and there's whole YouTube channels that just show you the lowest input, highest price profit on pallet wood stuff. So if that's what we're talking about, there's a ton of ways to – I mean, imagine if you just delivered pallets to events where they were going to have bonfires. I haven't ever seen anybody do that. I mean, that's a possibility too.
It's funny how our brains went in two different directions. I think you were right the first time, John. He said it was buying pallets, Amazon returns, and reselling them and stuff.
Yep. Because you get good shit. Like, you never know what's in those things. There's companies even that buy those and then just resell the pallets too. There's dudes that they'll break that down. And a lot of times when you go to buy the pallet, you can kind of see what's in the pallet somewhat.
Mm-hmm. There's places in Edmonton, they're all over now. It was called Crazy Bins or something. They would buy whole pallets and then they would release the stuff on Monday. And each day the price would go down. So the first day, every item was like $10. And then by Friday, everything was like 50 cents or buy one, get one free. And so it would clear out most of their junk by the end of the week.
Yeah, we had a place, I think it was called Second Saturdays or something. And it was literally only open the second Saturday of the month. And that's what it was all the shit that they didn't direct sell.
Yeah. Somebody says, I've read that Airbnb bookings are down. They are. I've talked to a lot of Airbnb hosts because I stay in those all the time when I travel because I prefer to have a kitchen to cook in. But part of that on Airbnb, if you just depend on the platform to book your Airbnb, it won't book as full as if you do other ways. So like we had ours listed at the Traveler Center at the rest area right here when we did it. And I had flyers in there and did a whole bunch of other stuff to book it. I just used their platform to book it.
Oh, so you would reach out to customers, but then say, if you want to book it, go through.
Yeah, you just have it go through that link. Yeah.
So maybe I don't understand, but you can't be listed with Airbnb and say Verbo or whatever they do. Okay. Yeah. At the same time.
You just have to manage your calendar if you do that.
A lot of people are out of money. All the food costs way more right now. People are just out of money. Everything costs more right now. So they're not traveling and they're just not using Airbnbs. People with money, they still have money. But your average person, things have constricted. That's true. They're just tighter. They're just not, they're cognizant of, they're not just going to Walmart, right? They're taking one trip to Walmart and they're planning their trip for fuel consumption. You're seeing it. It's happening.
Yeah, it's going to get more that way.
Yes. It's everything that's happening right now is caused 6 months ago. So all the shit happening right now, wait till you see it in 6 months.
I mean, you go and we notice it. You go and get groceries and what you get for $100 is almost nothing.
It's insane. Yeah.
So here's something every time I'd go south, I always noticed significantly, especially down in Tennessee, I found grocery prices were really quite low. I got to say, from September when I was there last year to March this year, I noticed a big increase in prices. Things, and, it was kind of subconscious, but there was enough things I noticed that didn't seem nearly as cheap for me this time as the last time I was down there.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, we do a weekly like shopping report. One of my listeners puts it out and I read it on Monday. And it's been really interesting historically to hear like 2x4s went up to $12.
Yep.
Now they're down to like $3, right? But they were at $2 when we started. And he's now started like comparing at the same grocery store milk, eggs, flour, sugar, just so and butter, I think. So you know what those things cost, because inflation numbers are calculated based on very specific food items when they build food in there. And it's not the stuff that's
right.
That's sort of, because it's what's happened is there's been this pendulum where all of a sudden it's really expensive and then it comes back, but not quite back over here where it started. And then there's another spike based on I guess, supply and demand and other things. Because like eggs did it too. Eggs went completely bonkers. And now they're like, Aldi has them for $1.19 a dozen again.
It's weird. And the other thing is we all kind of know that things are going up, but nobody keeps track of it per se. Like maybe there's a website that I don't know about, but everybody always says, well, milk seems to have gone up a little bit, or this seems to have gone up a bit.
It's $3 a gallon, which is cheap. I pay $8 a gallon, I believe, for my raw milk. But $3 is up from $1.
What do you think of? What do you think a 6-pack of English muffins cost? Like, what do you think a couple of years ago? If you ever bought them, what did it cost?
$2.
That's what I would think. $2, right?
I did buy them for my workshops. It was $2.
They're $7.
Holy crap!
What?
Thomas English muffins. They're like $6 and change. They're kissing.
You can
$7.
make them for cheaper than that, but yeah,
I can't. But
you won't. Yeah, that's true. Won't, not can't.
I have a question, Tim.
Yeah,
I have a ton of vehicles. I spend more money every year on batteries than fuel for the vehicles. I drive them so infrequently.
Wow.
So when we go to start them, the batteries are dead. We jump them off. I usually end up putting new batteries in them. NOCO chargers, the NOCO jump packs, amazing, solid product, right?
Yep.
So I've got some NOCO chargers. We're hooking them up to where we just keep things plugged in, and they're battery maintainers. So can I have the plugs out in the rain exposed? Does it matter?
You're not going to short anything out right away because they're just little 12-volt connections, but I'd still cover them myself. Okay. if they were, or just slide them, put them in underneath put them under your hood and close your hood.
I'm talking about the pigtail, right? Where it
plugs the piece that plugs into the wall.
Or plugs into the extension cord.
I've always covered them, either put electric. And the problem is of course they're supposed to be quick connect, but I'd keep a little bit of water off them. I always have. Okay. Most of mine are indoor, like mine's generators and that sort of thing. So I park them in the garage and plug them in. But I would, and simply because they're usually made out of that cheap Chinese metal that within 5, they just want to corrode and water collects, and especially where you live. Where I live, it's dry.
What about extension cords plugged in, extension cord to extension cord out in the rain?
I never do. I leave them. Summer, winter, fall, and rarely have a problem. The only time I have a problem is when my lazy ass leaves the female end on the ground, and then the water gets in there, when there's nothing covering because I've had problems where, like, I buy the lighted ends. I'll buy the 12 gauge lighted end ones, and they're expensive, but they're nice. And then, of course, my lazy ass will leave it. Water will get in there. And then, of course, it gets negative 450 here. So then it splits and breaks. Or you'll run. So we have to plug our vehicles in the winter here. People are going to think that's funny, or they won't start. So what'll happen is you'll unplug it, then you'll pull in at the end of the day, and instead of hanging it up, you'll drive over it and break it. But yeah, I do. I leave them, man, and I mean we get a lot of snow, a lot of rain, and as long as they're sealed together, I have no problem. It's when you leave the female ends down that you get the infiltration and it gets bad.
Contractor grade, 100-foot extension cords are kissing $100.
Yeah.
Chuck People sent me, we were talking garden hoses. Chuck People sent me a link to actual 2-inch fireman grade hoses. Holy shit. Like I thought a $100 garden hose was expensive. They got $1,000 hoses that are only like 50 feet long.
Wow.
Yeah. What were you saying, Nicole?
Oh, I was going to say on the extension cords outside, if as long as they don't pool in water,
Yeah.
Which your gravel probably most of the time doesn't, but that's where we've run into problems here when we're like putting 2 out for the chicken coop or whatever.
What's the worst that happens? It's rain and you're barefooted. You catch a little shock.
That would hurt. It's more that it's going to blow the breaker because it's going to detect that there is a short.
Because I'm just curious because we do it all the time. Like we just I've done it forever. I was just curious if there's a reason not to.
A lot of it is, for me, again, it's the same thing. I just do it if it's going to sound bad, but if the replacement cost is worth less than what the pain in the ass it's going to be to do it right every single time, then I just leave it. And I won't lie, I do, Yeah. Same with garden hoses. I'm not very good at putting garden hoses away, or even, my he's like, oh, you always got to, after you turn the water off, press the nozzle so it relieves the pressure off it. And, 4 days later, I'll go out and the sun will be shining and my friggin' thing will be aneurysmed up like that. But I just do it. I'm good at a lot of things, but that kind of shit I usually don't remember.
So we were buying the 100-foot and 50-foot black contractor hoses, 3/4 inch inner diameter from Walmart. They were $35.
Yep.
And I know Walmart and contractor doesn't go together. We've had these hoses. I still have these hoses on the property now since the beginning of the property. So going on 8 years probably. We buy something similar. They're now $65. And the newer hoses, they burst. If you leave them pressurized in the sun, they split. The old hoses, they do not. But we constantly run these things over. So I know Jack has a hose that he loves. And I used to buy everything green or black so you wouldn't see it. I buy everything high vis as I can now, so I do see it. I just went to pull hose this morning to go water sheep because we have them in a sheep tractor, and I've got a slice out. Even though I had the deck up at 5 inches, I still popped this hose open.
Which is why you need your hose repair kits that cut your hand, right?
I have a bunch of them, yeah. I've got a bunch of them.
Yeah,
I buy the high vis.
No stitches on that there, John?
No, no, there's no stitches in it. It probably should have.
Yeah.
We're really bad up here. So I have to snow blow rentals and that sort of thing. And so at the 12 unit, there's posts for every parking spot where you can plug your vehicle in. But one person insists on parking on the other side of the sidewalk. 3 times last winter, I sucked their extension cord right in I replaced it once, and then after that, I'm like, no, not going to do it. But get good at repairing them.
That's something else, too. Like, I see people saying they're setting up homesteads and stuff, which is awesome. Good on you. We don't know what we don't know. So when you're setting up a homestead and you're putting your concrete and such in, build everything to where you can get equipment up there so you don't have to snow blow it. We can just use a blade on a skid steer. All your fencing. A man told me something when I came on the property here, and he was helping me set up fencing, and he said, what's the biggest thing you're going to bring through here? And I said, well, probably just this John Deere tractor. He said, no. He said, let's build everything at 16 feet track to track, 20 feet ideally, 2 double 10-foot or double 8-foot fences, gates, so that we can get a big excavator. I go, when are we going to put a big – I'm not going to need a big excavator. And sure as shit, a month later, we had a 320 Komatsu in here pulling trees out. So just – build everything as big as you can. Even if it just means going back and putting another set in later, you are going to be so glad you did that when you set your main H-posts.
You're never going to say, man, I wish that gate was smaller.
Right.
I wish that gate was smaller.
Man, I wish So
I wish I had less room to get through here.
They just built 3 years ago, multi-million-dollar medical center here in town for the doctors. Beautiful place. But who are the people that tend to go see the doctor, right? Old and sick people. They designed this thing. It's a 3-story building, but the main story is half a story off the ground. So now instead, if you had people coming in wheelchairs and the infirmed, why the hell would you not have that right perfectly level? So now in order to get in with a wheelchair or anybody who's infirmed, it's like 4 switchbacks on a long ramp. They're spending tens of thousands of dollars every winter keeping all that clear. And if they'd have spent 10 more minutes designing it, they'd have put that basement 5 more feet below ground, and they would have solved all the problems. But now instead, you've got every little Estelle that comes in with her walker and emphysema having to waddle up them friggin' it's bad. Makes no sense to me at all. You
have entire abandoned buildings on videos, and they're like, what happened to this place? And it's some silly shit just like that every time.
Right. So dumb. I did recently find out about a bomb shelter around here, which I'm pretty interested in.
It's funny you say that. I was thinking about that this morning. That's awesome, man. Did you go look at it?
Not yet. No, I haven't been back to the city. We're going to be up there this weekend. I have no idea. I would anyway. Yeah, I would love.
Is it privately owned? Somebody had put in it, or is it for like the public?
It was government. It's all government owned, and it was designed for continuity of government way back in the Cold War. Apparently, Alberta was the most prepared Canadian province. We had quite a civil defense thing here. So yeah, it was 15. I forget. I might have told you. I can't remember, John, but it was in the hundreds of people it could sustain for. It was a fallout shelter, not an explosion shelter. But if they haven't cemented off the entrance, I wouldn't mind seeing around in it at some point.
Make some good video there.
Yeah.
Even if they have cemented off the entrance.
I'm just being,
Can you still get in?
Yeah.
Okay, what are some things you are doing to prepare for winter right now?
Well, you guys probably you don't need to worry about it's still early even for me to start prepping for winter. I'm still thinking about my summer projects. There's a lot I haven't got done yet this winter or summer that I really wanted to. But it's going to be weird this year because September 15th, I'm basically not going to be back in my town until November 1st because we leave Self-Reliance and Becky and I are taking a trip to Hawaii for a week after that. So by the time we get back, it'll be winter.
Must be nice.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. It's why I can't go to the Kentucky Sustainable Living. Yeah, I would though. But yeah, it is fucking nice. I'm excited about it. But anyway, that being said, I do need to start earlier this year. But for us, it's all the biggest thing. It's going to sound foolish is cleaning all your shit up before things freeze, because anything that's left, where it gets warm or whatever. But for us, if there's a stupid, like I've said this before, but if there's a stupid dog toy on the back deck and it freezes solid, it's there all winter unless I get out and get like a heavy duty scraper and dig into the dirt or the wood. So tripping hazards, man. Make sure your tripping hazards are up. Make sure your cords are up so you're not going to suck them up into, and then for us, we have a Becky's She Shed. Every summer stuff goes in there. The winter stuff comes out. And I stop winterizing things. I just move it into somewhere warm. It saves me a lot of time. Like my pressure washer is the big one. It goes in the basement. I have a little spot for it so I don't have to worry about running the antifreeze through it.
Yep.
Yeah, Tactical hates it because I make him take the outdoor kitchen sink and the dishwasher because I have a dishwasher and a sink outside for events. I make him take him inside and he's always grumbling about how he has to take this whole thing out. I'm like, listen, I've gone through too many faucets by just leaving them out there, and then water gets in there and expands. So it's too early for that. I usually do an episode at the end of August called Winter is Coming, because that's about when I start auditing the basics of keeping water from freezing for the animals and all of that. Like, do I have what I need? I don't need to implement it, but do I have what I need so I can order it now? But what I do for winter prep right now is I'm growing a garden and I'm canning food from the garden. Or preserving it in other ways. I am down to, I want 30 more jars of green beans for the winter. So I'm about halfway there right now. And that's pretty much it. It's all about food storage. Cause when you're tapping into your homestead for food and you're using that, winter is the season to use it up. And right now is the season to store it.
I put natural gas heating in my garage last winter and insulated it as well. Best money I've ever spent. That gives me an outdoor working space that is heated, because for many years I would go out there with, there's nothing worse than trying to fix gear in an unheated space. It's just miserable. So yeah, that was my winter prep that's paid off and will pay off for decades.
Yeah.
If the natural gas went off unexpected, totally unprepared, what would it take you to swap that so that you could run propane through those same heaters?
That one in the garage, 20 minutes. I saved the orifices. They're in a Ziploc bag. Cool. And I even have the tool for doing it. I've done it twice now, so it's easy. The first time took me like 3 hours to figure it out.
That's the way that goes.
Yeah, but I could. Maybe 45 minutes because I've got like piped open stuff on the fittings. But yeah, it could easily be done.
Cool.
I have other backups too, like,
right.
Propane little buddy heaters for in the house, because like we said, minus 30, minus 40, if something happened to the natural gas, that's a life and death situation pretty quick.
So Mr. Heater, who makes the Buddy Heater, makes those no vent hang on the walls.
Yep.
And they're a couple $100, man, and they will cook you out. And they literally just hang up. They also have they come with legs, but you can just hang them on cleats on the wall and just run your line right to them. And you can get them propane or nat gas. And man, those things are great. We have them in the other building.
Those are great. I don't have any here. I should totally add those at some point. But
we were at an antique mall in Milan on Sunday, and there was this white porcelain box that had 2 stove eyes on the top, the kind you just put the handle in and you move them. And I'm like, what is that? And you loaded it. It was a wood-burning cook stove, and you load it from the top. You take the eye out, load it with wood, and it had a little thing you wipe from side to side that knocks the ashes down, and then it has an ash box on the bottom. And I thought, man, I want that thing. It's $200. And then I went to move it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want it that bad. So we didn't get it. It's made of cast iron. Pretty neat, though. I'd not seen one that compact.
Daisy and Ed's Alaskan Adventures was asking if it's been hot here in Canada. Not really. We've had a couple of days. I mean, 2 years, there's times that it'll get up into the 40 Celsius, which is like 110 Fahrenheit. And we've barely been above 30 this year. So, 90s. And it does get really hot up here, but we've never, in my 10 years here, we've never had a summer with this much smoke. There hasn't been a week goes by that we don't have 2 or 3 days of wildfire smoke, and it's back again today. You get 1 or 2 days of reprieve, and then it's back. And it's just been here. I haven't even kept up on all where the fires are, but yeah, we've had more this summer than probably the last 4 combined.
Ours are hit and miss. We'll go a week and not have any smoke down here, and then you'll just go outside and you'll just see smoke everywhere, and you'll drive 100 miles and still see smoke. So it's Canada fire smoke coming down here.
That being said, I think your smoke has led to one of my best gardening years I've had in a while.
Nice.
Which is not what's supposed to happen, but we have not had the same intense sun damage that I usually get in late July. And I managed to get my shade cloth out finally. So
that's the huge one, the shade cloth.
Yeah, but I just did it like I was given grace by smoke, I think.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
We don't even have to build you don't have to frame it out or anything. Just pop in some 4x4 poles and then just run your shade cloth through the grommets with double bolted snaps, like dog leash hardware, and just snap them up, put eye bolts in, and then just drape them. They don't even have to be taut. They can just look like sails and such. Mm-hmm. And where you put that 20 by 20 piece of shade cloth, you'll get 100 feet of shade on the opposite side of it. Man, it's just a game changer.
We actually have a company coming to do that at the daycare because the outside area gets so stinking hot and there's very little shade. They're going to put up four uprights, and they're going to put an all-weather tarp that stays up for like 9 months of the year that is windproof. I know nothing's proof, but designed to hold up to it, and it'll give the kids quite a bit of shade.
Yep. Just make sure, and make sure you pop them down before you get ice and snow, because we got so much snow load on that shade cloth that it'll literally, it bent those 4x4s like 90 degrees. I can't believe they didn't snap.
I built my own version of the Taj Mahaler last year, and it was great. But the one thing I made sure I did was I got out with the roof rake and cleaned the snow off a couple of times in the winter because it was starting to collect. There was about 12 inches. And I said, I know it's sturdy, but I don't want to ruin it for the sake of heavy snow. So 20 minutes, and you put metal roof with a decent slope on it. You get at the top, you give it a pull, and it just step out of the way and you make sure it doesn't hit you.
Yeah, don't pull it on yourself. Because my roofs do this, when I get snow melt, I get the double load. Yeah.
Yep. That's why we built the rabbit barn set with such an extreme pitch to it, so that it wouldn't accumulate any snow.
Yep. Somebody says their plants are behind during the hazy sky. Well, guys, we are rounding the corner of 2 hours. So it's probably time to
we're well past
go back to the world domination social marketing like we're all experts at. But anyway, let's go once around the horn. And Tim, I cannot wait to see you in person in October.
I'm excited.
I'm hoping we get a little time to actually talk this time.
We will. We will make sure we do. Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to sit down with you, John, and interview you for half an hour if you can make a half hour's worth of time for me at some point. So
yeah, it's going to take 2 hours.
I know it will. I'm just being polite, but yeah. Thank you.
Yep, for sure.
Cool. But yeah,
all right, Tim, what do you got to say?
Toolman Tim everywhere. You can find me. People type in Toolman Tim, and now I show up on YouTube instead of that Tim the Toolman Taylor. It's pretty cool. I get people who say, "Oh yeah, I've seen that dude now," and it's like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, you can find me in all the places wherever you happen to go. That's where my brand is. So what do I got right now? If you go to my Shopify site, I got the very last set of silver, or the patch of the month. $10 a month, $100 a year. We had 25% growth last month, which was crazy. It's not a lot, but that's a good percentage. I'm very happy with it, and people love it. I don't have the patch with me. The last patch was 0 to 5 stars. Government would not recommend. So
all right, John, what do you got?
SOE Tactical Gear everywhere. I do a live video every night at 9:00. Jump on there. In the very beginning of the video, we show all the gear that we made each day. And then if you want to talk, then just stay on there. And we'll discuss whatever you want to discuss. I've got over 4,000 videos on YouTube. So check us out there.
Awesome, guys. I'm Nicole Sauce from the Living Free in Tennessee podcast. You can find all my stuff at livingfreeintennessee.com. As well as, I would like to remind you, if you have not gotten your Self-Reliance Festival ticket yet, prices are going up in about a week. So jump on over to selfreliancefestival.com and get your tickets while you can. It's an event you don't want to miss. Like, if you're wondering, should I make time for it? Make time for it. It is worth every moment that you spend there.
And it's inexpensive. It's not expensive for what you get. It's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. See you guys later.